From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Good evening, everybody. Happy 2019. Good new year to everybody. All right. You're listening to Smith Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. My name is Brian Smith. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force. This is my cousin,
Kerry Smith. Oh, sorry. I didn't know he was waiting.
Who's in the Marine Corps back in the 90s. We've been doing political talking back and forth for about the last 15, 16, 17 years, and we decided about 5 years ago, go ahead and document the demise of America and where the Democrats and Rhino Republicans were taking us. And lo and behold, we got lucky. We got Donald Trump. We got Donald Trump flipped this thing all the way around, upside down on top of its head. And so we come to you every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, to give you a wrap-up of the week in news and also to expose what happened on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, because that's where they like to hide stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want you to know about what happened on Friday, especially if it's a docu-dump Friday. So, folks, this is a new year for us here at Smith Radio. We're starting our 6th year in Smith Radio.
Gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, technically, it won't happen until May, but...
Actually, April. I just checked our Twitter.
April?
That's when you created the Twitter account.
All right, April.
April of 2014? Something like this.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
I don't know. You guys do the math.
Be 5. Okay.
Going into 5.
Right. Okay.
Well, it'll be the beginning of our 6th year.
In April. Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. So, new year, new things, new studio, folks. I know you can't see the inner workings of it, and I promise.
That's probably a good thing.
Yes.
We want them to see what we want them to see.
I promised I'd do a scope on it, but when it's final, we got all the little nooks and crannies and everything, the little things taken care of, I will absolutely scope.
And we would probably appreciate any feedback on any problems, because I think it's working right now. But, some things that we may not know that you guys pick up on, you guys can let us know. Like if you hear an echo or anything like that. We've got probably half of the total amount of soundproofing that I want in the room. So it might be a little bit of a locker room sound to it. But we do have a good amount of soundproofing.
Unlike Elizabeth Warren. We're not that far with it.
Is this our echo chamber? This is the echo chamber. No, we're going to eliminate the echo chamber by having a diversity of thought.
Absolutely.
Here.
Absolutely, 100%. And so, folks, some new things on the website on Smith Radio, SMYTHradio.com, or if it's easier to remember, I also have the link, SmithTV.com.
Cool.
That's because we're now in TV mode, if you will. And let me pull that up because I want to show you all. We are now, and maybe you can explain this. Why are we shifting away from Patreon?
Well, I guess it's a long story. It's not like something that has just popped up out of nowhere. For a long time, there was the issue of Patreon was deplatforming people based on their beliefs. Now, it started off with, there are certain specific, very nuanced terms of service that are being violated. I think it started with Lauren Southern. I believe that she was on a ship in the middle of international waters, and she was saying that she was there just being a citizen journalist. However, they did make the case that she was also directing. And I think that they made the case there, but it was problematic. It was a little concerning, and so that was like the first shot across the bow of conservatives, where they were deplatforming and demonetizing. This is something that's actually been spearheaded or started by YouTube, where YouTube was doing all kinds of stuff where, if you're a channel that gets a lot of views, you get paid based on the number of views. So people were going into it professionally. And then Google, who owns YouTube, decided, well, you know what, if we don't like their message, especially politically, we are going to try to shut them down by demonetizing them. And so you have to pretty much volunteer your time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have watched Mark Dice or seen anything from Mark Dice, he's been hammered, probably one of the hardest hammered from demonetization.
And it's because he has well over 1 million subscribers, which you can be full-blown professional do it as a profession with that kind of subscribership. And by demonetizing him, he pretty much would have to go out and get another job.
And the trick that they do to him is that they'll demonetize it automatically, but then when he hits it the next day for manual review, and about 2 days, 3 days later, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you can monetize." And by that time, it's already run its course, and it's 100,000 views, and you don't get it. You don't get the back pay.
Yeah, absolutely not. This is actually described perfectly by Tim Pool, who has been earning a good amount of money from his YouTube channel and has since been demonetized in that way, where he would come out with a video. Let's say the total amount of views that he gets within a week, let's say, is 10,000 or 100,000 views in a week, let's say. The bulk, like 90% of the views that somebody like a Tim Pool would get happen in like the first day or two. Okay, that's the time where he is being told by YouTube that you are not going to get paid for any of your views. If you would like to argue that you should get paid, go ahead and send your request form here. You do not get back paid. You do not get back paid.
It's not like furlough in the government when it's shut down. Right. It ain't like that. It ain't like that.
Yeah. So that all being said, this has nothing to do with Patreon. I'm just saying that there's a long story that goes way back, probably over a year, where liberal websites, and I'm talking massively, like they own the internet type of sites, like Google, Facebook, Twitter, just about every single social media and every single search platform, and we're going into PayPal and the sites that control, or the companies that control the credit card transactions, are all deciding that they are going to do what's necessary to silence conservatives.
Right.
And I think that an early adopter of these policies is Patreon. And it's interesting because Patreon was also the platform of choice from the get-go from most of your conservatives. I mean, if you've been following conservatives, and if you've been following us, we've been telling you that you should donate to our Patreon. You should donate to the Patreons of other conservative people who are doing the work of citizen journalism, getting the truth out there. Anybody that you feel is giving you the truth and not just a bunch of fake news or whatnot, you should be supporting them through Patreon. Well, guess what? It turns out this past week, Dave Rubin, who's not a conservative, but I would consider somebody who's very fair, I would call him middle of the road, even though he calls himself liberal, and Tim Pool too. Tim Pool calls himself left-leaning, but I listen to them carefully. I consider you down the middle if you give the right and our arguments a fair shake. And they do. Both Dave Rubin and Tim Pool do. But they have both decided that they are going to – actually, Dave Rubin, who, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, the guy has been making for a long time tens of thousands of dollars per month.
That's amazing.
Through Patreon alone. So for him to take the step to just abandon it completely is an act of courage, to say the least. So him and Jordan Peterson have decided abandoning totally, walking away from Patreon. I figure what we have to do is offer an alternative. And do we have that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
If you're watching the screen right now, you can see that. If you're on our website, smithradio.com or smithtv.com, either one will get you there. Right there in the middle is the show from last week, or this week's show live. It's right there.
Okay.
And if you go back throughout the week, you'll see last week's show. It'll stay up there all week long. So you can direct your friends and your family there. And right at the top on the right, it says subscribe. You can click down the various subscriptions. You can subscribe as much or as little as you want. This does, at this point in time, does go through PayPal. I don't know any other. I don't have another alternative way at this moment.
Yeah, I know PayPal's been a little bit problematic for some people. However, we've had people that have abandoned Patreon. These are patrons of ours who've decided, we're done with Patreon, but we want to continue to support you. So we're going to go ahead and donate through PayPal, and it has worked for them. And I'm okay with however.
And PayPal has given us an ATM debit card, so it doesn't cost us anything.
Oh, okay.
Patreon costs us money. PayPal doesn't cost anything to you or to us.
Really?
Yeah, how they continue to do it. Unless I take it out.
I always thought that if I were to – PayPal is like an eBay thing, and I know that they had transaction charges. I guess if you use a credit card through it or something. Not sure how that works. But
well, if you take it out and put it to your bank account, there's like a 1% charge.
Just kind of a little housekeeping here. Is there a reason why we are frozen on the website?
Because it'll show the website and it goes down a rabbit hole. I just hit pause.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure because I didn't want anybody to be alarmed by that.
Right.
Okay.
And then to the right of that, the very far top right, is the Smith Radio 2019 calendars. They will be in this week. I know it's running late. I know, and I apologize. One of our Patreons, and I'm sorry I throw that out to you. I'm sorry. I apologize. Was led to believe that the calendars were going to be handed out for free. I made a comment, and I did say something to the notion about that we were looking at that possibility.
Okay.
And I just forgot about it. So here's what I've done.
Okay.
I've put the calendars up there on the website. You can click the donate button and choose whatever you want, whatever feels right to you. Choose to donate or nothing at all. You can donate $1 or whatever, and we'll get the calendars out to you ASAP.
For patrons.
Yep. Okay. For patrons, I only
Okay.
felt that to be fair on both ends, kind of split down the middle.
That's cool.
Anyways, with that being said,
So if you're a patron, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
And if you're not, you should be. Jump on over there.
Absolutely. No, and you know what?
To the website.
Not trying to lecture you, so don't. If it comes off that way, I'm sorry. But, you have to be active in this fight against the left, against liberalism, against the Democrats who are trying to destroy this country. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can actually go out and do activism. You can help the GOP, which have been problematic.
A big problem, Mitt Romney.
RNC, GOP, obviously been problematic. You can do what Brian and I are going to do. Is that this Wednesday?
The 8th, whatever the 8th is.
Yeah. So we are going to be active
Tuesday.
Participants in a little bit of a thing that our friend Timothy Schwartz has informed us on, and actually one of our patrons, Vessi tweets, has decided to embark on, which is to infiltrate the Republican Party from within, which I believe you could talk to anybody, Jack Posobiec, Will Chamberlain, whoever it is, they will all tell you this is probably the best way to do it, and that is to infiltrate from within. So these are ways you can be active, or donate to people who are doing the fighting.
Right.
And in our case, smithradio.com. Click on we have a donate button, right?
Got the donate button and the subscribe button, so you could do either way.
You
could either way donate or subscribe.
You should be active. You should be active. You be an active participant in what I consider to be a real live Cold War. It's like Cold War II, but it's a civil war. It's like a cold civil war.
We're not, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but we really are in the middle of a war. We really are attempting to take back our country for what it is. We have a very small sliver of time in life right now where Donald Trump has hijacked the GOP. And the fact that he's hijacked it.
And it's only temporary.
It's only temporary.
Yeah.
And while he's got it hijacked and holding it hostage, now is our time to get involved and to be a part of that hijacking to where we can take the party back.
It's like he hijacked the plane, but we're passengers and we're with him.
We're with him. Yeah, because that's the way it's going to be.
You know what it was? We said, let's roll.
Yeah.
We did. You know what it is? The plane got hijacked. Do not think for a second that Abraham Lincoln, who is the first president of the Republican Party, the first president of the United States, who is a Republican, do not think for a second that he was some establishment rhino.
No.
All right? He's one of us.
They hated him as much as they hated Reagan and maybe as much as they hated Trump. Well, they hated him so bad they went to war with him.
The Republican Party has been hijacked, And we're the passengers saying, let's roll.
Yep.
And Donald Trump is the one that's kind of said, all right. He's on the phone like, y'all know they're flying these things into buildings, right?
Yeah.
And so it's time to roll, guys. It's time to roll. I like that analogy.
So with that being said, a lot of the news that's coming up, we got some really, really great news that you're not ever going to hear about. The booming economy. Yes, you did not hear that wrong. Yes, it is true. The economy is booming like never before. Everybody's shocked. People are shocked. Nobody's talking about it. The media's not talking about it. Well,
actually, let's talk about the fact that the Dow Jones had been down like 40% in 2018. There is a misconception that the economy and the Dow Jones Industrial Average are the same thing.
Nope. Sorry.
So what is the economy then, if it's not just how much people are investing in the Dow Jones stocks?
And the Dow Jones stocks is just a group of stocks that just say this is the average of the stock market. It's not all the stocks averaged out.
And over historically, it is an indicator, because if your average investor across the world, not just the United States, because we have foreign investors, decides, hey, I like what's going on over there in America, they start to invest in the companies and you see it go up. So when the economy is doing well in America, you see the Dow Jones go up because of that. However, we have other things at play. And, I was just thinking this, I'm going to throw this out here. I did not have this prepared.
The illegal Fed, that's in play too.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Well, I wanted to throw this out here. I was doing some research just out of the blue, out of pure curiosity. And have you ever noticed that we have this Dow Jones plummet in 2018 under Donald Trump's watch? We also had a pretty massive crash under our previous president, Bush. That led people to think that it was a Bush recession. And we had Obama take over and extend that recession throughout his entire presidency.
Because it was still Bush's recession.
Yeah, and so on an unrelated note, I don't know what I was thinking, but I wanted to look up and see what the status was of all of our elected Republicans. I'm talking about presidents, our presidents of the United States who were Republicans throughout history, modern history, so 20th century. And I just happened to notice that, hey, these people were pretty much celebrities, every one of them. We had no unknowns that ran on the Republican ticket for the president who got elected in the past 85 years. So the most recent one that I'm not sure of, because he could have been a celebrity at the time and I just don't know, was Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
He's the one who was the president that led into the Great Depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it got me thinking, because I wanted to do a little research on Herbert Hoover. Was he famous? I don't know. Well, it turns out that it made me wonder, on a totally unrelated note, if these recessions aren't actually manufactured, the depressions and recessions. Whenever we have if you look at Herbert Hoover, he was actually a constitutional conservative, fiscal conservative. He was what people would love today who are Trump supporters.
Right.
He was a businessman.
Yep.
He was a very successful businessman who wanted to apply the tools of business to the American government and see if it would make America great again. Okay, seriously. And guess what? At the end of his presidency, we went into a massive depression. And there's nothing that I've ever heard that somebody says, you know what, it was Herbert Hoover's policies. It was his specific policies that caused the Great Depression.
Well, HistoryChannel.com says, although his predecessor's policies undoubtedly contributed to the crisis, which lasted over a decade. Hoover bore much of the blame in the minds.
Well, of course
of
it would be blame, and that's the key. The key is who can we blame? And look at the housing crisis. We know that the housing crisis was caused by Democrat policies.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buying up junk loans, knowing that they would be bailed out.
Well, in a policy that forced banks to do high-risk loans because they thought that minorities were being discriminated against for being considered a high-risk loan.
Under Obama, I got my first house, and there was a policy they had in play that said that banks, on a first-time home loaner, banks could not look at your medical bills as debt. Okay. No matter how much you had racked up, and if you had millions of dollars in medical bills and you weren't paying them, you're completely delinquent, the bank was not allowed. And I don't know if that's been rescinded, but the bank was not allowed to look at. And there was, I think I had like a $500 medical bill somewhere, and the lady doing our loan said, no, you don't need to pay that.
So obviously these are things that need to be considered in a free market capitalist society. You know, the thing is if somebody has millions of dollars of debt of any kind, somebody's got to take a big risk there if they were going to give them a loan. So anyway, I kind of wonder. I'd love to see somebody do some research to find out who the unknown players were that may have actually led to the recession. And the Great Depression for Hoover, but you have the recessions for Bush, which we know was caused by the Democrats, and then you know that there are deep state haters currently serving today with Donald Trump who are trying to destroy the economy so that they can blame Trump.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. I almost feel like communists infiltrate capitalist networks in order to undermine capitalism by destroying it from within. That's possible. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thought there, since we're talking about all this crazy stuff going on here. And we know, for those of you that don't know, the Dow Jones that has gone down, which has nothing to do with the economy. The economy is about as strong as it gets. If you are thinking of investing based on the strength of the U.S. economy, the fact that it's down means you're getting in at a discount.
Oh, yeah, now's the time to start getting in. Yeah,
absolutely. And by the way, my dad points out that every January the economy shoots up. Every January. So now's the time to get in. Get in now. That's all I got to say. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't hold me accountable if that doesn't happen. But it's just disclaimer. So what do you got?
Oh, I was thinking
I was thinking Brian's in love with Calvin Coolidge, which is he's a good guy. Apparently Herbert Hoover is overlooked too.
Yes, Herbert Hoover is definitely overlooked. And the only reason why Calvin Coolidge is because if you've listened to our shows many times before, I've said I had a history professor that I absolutely was enamored with. I thought he was phenomenal. He's fantastic, but this is when I was young and dumb and I didn't know no better. And he went through all the presidents of the United States. When he got to Calvin Coolidge, he said he spent probably about a half hour to 40 minutes on each president. Got to Calvin Coolidge, he said, and Calvin Coolidge slept 14 hours a day. That's about it. Do nothing president. Okay, moving right along. Come to find out he was a precursor to Ronald Reagan. He literally refused to enact all these different rules and regulations because he felt that they weren't right. You know, if you get back, rewind, go back to FDR, who, let's just do something. Let's do anything. Do whatever we want. Let's just keep doing something. Let's do the New Deal, the Re-Deal, the New Deal, another deal. And then we got the communist Ocasio-Cortez saying, hey, I got a Green Deal.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, good Lord, man, what are we talking about here?
Scott Adams Says on Twitter, which is the Dilbert creator, is I don't know what caused him to go down this road, but he is deciding to investigate on his own, just his own personal curiosity, the global warming phenomenon and debate. And I'm glad to see that because he is a left-leaning, he's a huge Trump supporter, but he'll tell you, I'm slightly left-leaning. And he decided, he's one of these people that has probably taken the word for guys in lab coats saying that human activity is causing global warming. And he's investigating it and starting to learn by listening to Tony Heller, my favorite on YouTube, that it's a bunch of hooey.
Bunch of nonsense. Well, global warming and the things that they're doing to say that they're going to. Well, first off, for you to have any kind of arrogance about yourself, to think that you could change this earth one way or the other is beyond insanity.
It's going to take a lot more humanity than that. I heard that the entire population of the world can fit in one county.
Sure, okay. Maybe shoulder to shoulder.
7 billion people. So, I mean, we are a tiny, minuscule fraction of what this earth is and what it's subject to. The sun, the moon.
I don't think that the
mantle. Seriously.
Like these cities that are all over America, when people start to think of, especially out in L.A., all this concrete and all this stuff, it's never going to go anywhere. It's always good. I'm like, whoa.
No.
We've got evidence that within just about 70, 80, maybe 25 years, go look at Detroit City 25 years after the place has been abandoned. Like literally, Mother Earth is taking back concrete, absorbing it back into the earth.
Absolutely.
Growing trees out of it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Trees can grow out of concrete. We've seen that.
Yes.
We've seen that. I just looked up right now. BBC News has reported at some point, 2015, that the number of trees on Earth is 3 trillion, which is about 500 times more than humans. We got what?
We got to start whacking those trees down. We got to get rid of them.
If there's 7 billion, people on Earth,
right.
Is that roughly what the number is?
Yeah.
So 1,000 times that would be 7 trillion. And there's only 3 trillion. So probably about 400 times more trees on Earth than humans. And by the way, look how much bigger trees are than humans. And all of that tree is I shouldn't say all. A vast majority of a tree is made out of carbon. And where do you think that carbon comes from? It comes from the air.
Oh, no.
My dad pointed something out to me. If you know anything about science, matter cannot be created or destroyed. So when a massive tree grows up out of the ground, I used to think that the mass of a tree comes from the ground and that it just breathes the air, whatever. But if it was true that the mass of a tree comes from the ground, then as it grows, the ground around it would sink.
Oh, there'd be a big giant hole.
Yeah, you would have a hole equal to the mass of the tree as the tree grows. But that's not the case. And why is that? Because the mass of a tree doesn't come from the earth. It comes from the air. It's breathing in the carbon dioxide, and it's turning the carbon into the tree. Seriously. And by the way, when you burn wood, you're reintroducing the carbon back into the atmosphere. That's all it's doing.
So we're helping out.
Well, I mean, it's a cycle. So when you see a giant forest or you see people planting trees, or actually not just trees, anything growing out of the ground is sequestering carbon. So the whole thing, to think that humans have that much of an impact, that we could cause a catastrophe on Earth that would end all of life on Earth, is just intoxicating vanity.
I'm trying to look. I think I got it. And I'm only bringing this up because this was a big deal this week. Ocasio-Cortez, in recent times, because now Ocasio-Cortez is now in Congress. She was elected, overthrew a sitting senior Democrat.
Right.
And so what was amazing is that she was able to do that, grassroots, if you will. And she's been on Jake Tapper. And trying to talk to the world about how her plan over the next 10 years is to use $40 trillion. $40 trillion.
So she wants to
fight global
quadruple our debt.
No, it's $40 trillion for all these policies and things that she wants to implement. And so fake Jake Asker says to her, okay, and he put in a task. I'll give him, you know what, as much as I joke about Jake Tapper and as many times I've been blocked and unblocked by him, I got to give him credit for this one. He really put her feet to the fire and he held it down. He said, okay, $40 trillion. With the taxes that you want to implement, we're only going to get $3 trillion. Where is the other $37 trillion come from? And she had absolutely no answer. I'm not going to play this one, but I spoke about it enough. It's absolute pure insanity that she thinks, and she keeps saying this. She says $40 trillion we need to spend. We need to tax the rich all the way up to a 70, 80 percentile tax, which is what we had back in the early 1900s. We need to go back. So instead of moving forward, they want to go back to implement all these government programs. And she claims this will create tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of new jobs.
This is the mistake. The funny thing is, and I'm not trying to pile on
Casio. She refers to herself now AOC.
Okay. AOC.
AOC.
We're not supposed to pile on her. We're not supposed to slam dunk on her. There is a new, I don't have it off the top of my head, but there is a new Twitter handle. AOC Press, at AOC Press. It's a parody account, and it's actually run by a good friend of mine. And he basically is acting like basically making fun of her policies. And it's very carefully thought through and it's funny and it makes fun of her policies, but it's not slam dunking on her with ad hominem, where it's personally attacking her, like her youthfulness or saying that she's saying things that she's not saying, which I think is also ad hominem. And there's a reason for this. A lot of us leaders in the MAGA movement have come to the conclusion that we are really stepping in it by slam dunking on her. Because
she's so we got to let her run her course, but she's so inexperienced. She doesn't know any better.
Right, but what her policies are so easy to attack, you should stick strictly to attacking the policies and the ideology and avoid trying to attack her. This attack on her on that video of her dancing was such a dumb, unforced error on the part of the people who have done it.
When I saw the video, I was like, "Oh, this shows how she's a kid." I'm sorry, she's a millennial. She's a kid. I didn't attack her. I didn't say anything about her.
But it was an older video. I mean, there's videos of I don't know about videos, but there's pictures of Trump in high school. You don't see people making fun of the fact that there's a picture of him in high school. Like, look at Trump, he's so young. Well, he's 70 now. And one day, AOC is going to be older, and we can, whatever. We'll look back and say, look, there she is when she was in college or whatnot.
The village.
That is not him.
America's friendliest hometown.
That's not him.
Dude, that's Joe Biden. It's Uncle Joe, man.
America's friendliest hometown. The village.
It's not Joe Biden. It sure looks like him, but
that's Uncle Joe.
Okay, you can make fun of that because that's pretty awful. But so we don't make fun of her looks, her dancing,
right. No reason
her
for it.
youthfulness. No. We attack the policies specifically. And, when she says that we need to tax people at 70% and all this kind of stuff, well, when you attack, it's so old and played out. It's amazing that this stuff is even being rehashed. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3, 4, 5, 6.
6, 7.
Just shame. Just fool every generation every single time. This is what Marxism is. Leftism is. It is the fooling of the young generation every single time. And you know why it works so well and why it's actually working better now than ever is because the Marxists have control of our education system. When you indoctrinate the kids from a very, very young age, all the way through their entire childhood, that Marxism is the right way. It's the way. It's the right way. There's a reason why we do things per the Communist Manifesto, and it's because that's the moral way, the right way. This is what our kids are being taught. When you spend your entire childhood, all the way up to 18, 19, 20, 22, 26 years old, being told that, this is just the right way, this is the way we should go. And the fact that we're not doing it fully yet is a black mark on humanity. We need to progress. We need to progress and move forward into the new age with this better way, not this old school, old fuddy-duddy, old white man. But it goes back capitalism. It doesn't work.
It goes back to greed. It goes back to envy. I mean, this is the devil's cocaine, y'all. This is what people get addicted to. Ocasio-Cortez screaming and yelling about how she couldn't. She didn't get paid yet. She didn't get paid yet, but she's got to go find an apartment in D.C. Mm-hmm. And she ain't got enough money.
Well, I think what's the going pay is like $175K.
Yeah. So by the way,
that's pretty good money. That's really good money.
I made a comment. Oh, and she also said that all congressmen, senators, everybody should forego their pay until the shutdown's over with.
Okay. She said that.
She is no longer saying that.
Yeah, because she realized she's one of them.
Well, she's no longer complaining about not finding an apartment. You want to know why? Guess what just happened, Carrie?
She didn't get paid?
She got paid.
Oh, she did get paid.
What's her paycheck?
I don't know how often they get paid. Does anybody know how often
we were thinking, when I was scoping, people were talking about it. I was thinking because in the military we got paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm just guessing every 2 weeks.
Did you do the math on it?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
She gets somewhere around, depending on what the pay is, but she gets somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000.
So about 7?
Yeah, man.
8, 9.
So she
probably like somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 every 2 weeks.
If it's you're saying 170. It's big
money.
I started thinking about that when I was doing the numbers, and I got sick to my stomach.
That's a lot.
You just won the lottery for 2 years, woman, and you know it. You know it. For the next 2 years, you got lottery money. For reals.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you take it over 20 years.
She said, I want the lump sum up.
You know what?
Could you imagine? You wait. They're going to try and pass a law that says they want the lump sum. My 2 years up front.
That would be so diabolical.
And they could do it, too. They vote. Yes. They vote their own raises.
They can pay themselves whatever they can get away with politically.
Pretty much.
If they want to pay themselves $1 million a month, if they could get away with it, they could do it.
They would do it. Yeah. Absolutely.
I actually have the calculator.
Okay, so while you're doing that, real quick, folks, as we were talking about the booming economy, we're kind of talking about different things right now, and we were talking about economics and talking about the new Congress that's in play. Nancy Pelosi, let her be. Let her. Pray to God she doesn't change. Pray to God she doesn't find wisdom anywhere.
Isn't she, though? She said all lives matters to the Black Lives Matters question. I mean, sounds to me like
that's a big change.
Well, she's stepping in it if you want to go straight up PC.
Right.
She stepped in it.
Right. But no, as crazy as she is, I've got a couple of clips on her just being goofy and losing it. Okay, now that's per week?
Per 2 weeks.
Per 2 weeks, $6,700.
Every 2 weeks. I was wrong, 7,000 to 8,000. It's more like $6,730.77.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Could you imagine getting that check?
Well, that's before taxes.
Oh, they pay taxes?
They're tax exempt. They're not. They're law exempt, is what they are.
Pretty much.
Law exempt.
Well, okay. Well, look at where she came from, though. And I'm
the Bronx, right?
Yeah. I'm not. Okay. Oh.
What? Is she not from the Bronx? I thought. Didn't she say she was from the? She was from the Bronx, right?
Come to find out, she's not.
Sandy from the Bronx?
Nope. Come to find out, she's not from the Bronx. She's from Westchester. Rich, wealthy.
Westchester.
Yeah, rich, wealthy, well-to-do outside of the Bronx.
You know what they're trying to say now? They're saying, y'all don't know city living. In the city. No, this is what they're saying. They're saying, in the city, poor people, really poor people, live right next door to the richest mansion right next door. And that's what she was. She must have been. Because
had to have been.
Yeah. Oh, she had to have been. Sure, she lived in a rich neighborhood, but there were also really, really, really poor people.
So why didn't you say Westchester? Why'd you say the Bronx? Because she wanted to be like Jenny from the block.
Yeah, she tried to. Well, she actually, in some pictures, because, Jennifer Lopez does herself up.
Oh, yeah.
But in some of her roles, she did herself kind of dressed down a little bit. And there's actually some similarities in the look. So I think she's trying to play on that.
Okay.
And I think that's not an accident.
And she's got the Democrat advisors telling her how to roll.
Right.
She's bought into this thing hook, line, and sinker. I'm telling you, they got themselves a live one. She's excited about it. But don't get me wrong. If I was that young in the Democrats, because I probably would have slipped down that road. I was too bad to be a Republican.
Right, because they got the moral high ground at all times, right?
Right, and Democrats are going to expose you as being a real person. You're a sinner.
Look at him.
He's a sinner.
He's not Jesus Christ himself.
He's a sinner. You're a cheater. A liar.
Right.
So anyways, it would be hard to walk away in my 20s from $6,730 every 2 weeks. You got to look back at her last job. What was she doing?
Oh, she was a waitress.
She was tending bar.
Oh, the bartender.
And she was tending bar. I know how much money they make, and they don't make that much money.
Right, and the thing is so you're kind of making her case is that she was probably not wealthy at all.
I know rich kids tend bar.
Oh, okay. She's a trust fund baby.
Oh.
I
have no idea.
I don't know.
But here's the thing. For her mentality to be the way that it is, first off, she's young. And second off, it would make sense if she came from a family that was well off. It would only make – to me, it makes sense. But anyways, policies are completely wrong. Ideology is completely wrong. That's the uphill battle we now have with the millennial generation.
Yeah, somebody on the comments section, which I read all your comments, so don't think that because you're not a leftist idiot that I'm ignoring you. I'm reading them all. But I like to point out falsehoods. I love to do it. So somebody said, I saw the video of her dancing in high school. LOL, Donald supporters are truly losing it. No, none of us are. I think that's a false narrative that's dreamt up in the heads of leftists who are like, oh, they're going to really lose it. They're going to lose. No, that didn't happen at all. I don't think I saw the whole narrative of Donald Trump supporters making fun of her dancing is completely made up out of thin air by leftists because that does actually help her big time. So bravo, congratulations, good job. It's all about the narrative. Brian taught me something a long time ago that perception is reality. And part of perception is whatever narrative you can get out there that's believable. And so the perception that right-wingers or Donald Trump supporters are losing it when they see the video, good job. You guys did a good job on that false narrative. And bravo.
Somebody in the comments,
we'll give you credit for it.
Somebody in the comments section said her dad was an architect and died when she was in college.
I don't know. I haven't done that much research, and somebody hasn't done the biography on her yet, so I don't know all the minute
it'll
details.
It'll all come out. I mean, just like everything else that from Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are all coming out now.
Sort of. Barack Obama feels to me like more of a mystery than ever. Like, I feel like some of the things that we learned about him through Sean Hannity, who was the only one, and to a lesser extent, Glenn Beck. Even that is just kind of gone off into the ether.
Here's my theory on Barack Obama, because we're now finding out all the dirty deeds done dirt cheap. We're finding out all the lies, the coup attempt. We're finding all this out. And just like Rush Limbaugh's theorem that nothing is ever attributed to President Obama, ever.
Oh, right, because he was always running against everything the whole 8 years. He was running for president against whatever was the problem.
Yeah.
And he was hoping, and actually it worked. It worked. I'll give him credit for that too. It worked that he was never held responsible as president of the United States for anything, because he would always come out and campaign against problems that he could solve as president, but he wanted to act like he was constantly struggling for the little guy. And
well, and that's what you do in communism. I mean, look at Castro. I mean, for 40,
he's still fighting a revolution.
Revolution. He's trying to fight up out the ground.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Yeah, it's still a struggle. It's still
struggling.
Still a struggle.
No, but here's my theory about Barack Obama, and I hold it dear that he absolutely, and we know this for a fact, was unqualified. There's just no qualification whatsoever as president of the United States. With that being said, no qualifications. Once he gets into office, all the people come around him and surround him and do it all. Or either they talk to him and get him to do something, or they're pulling strings in the background. He doesn't even know that Sally Yates is dirty dogging it with James Comey and McCabe and trying to listen in on General Flynn. Maybe he knew about some of the things, and maybe he didn't. But it was free reign under Barack Obama. Everybody did whatever they wanted, their best interest, self-interest, if you will. Hillary Clinton was given free reign to do whatever they want. Because Obama didn't care. He couldn't care. Oh, you guys looting? You're looting the government? Well, all right. Well, give me some of that, too.
I mean, honestly,
I didn't know we were allowed to do that. Okay, let's do it twice.
It's interesting you just say that, because I was just about to say that in some cases I kind of felt like – I truly felt like the reason things got so corrupt under Barack Obama was because he went in there projecting. He went in there thinking the damn Republicans and the former Democrats and everybody who's ever been in power before me have been looting this place dry, and finally I get my chance.
My turn to loot.
But the thing is I don't think it was as bad as he thought. He was the most corrupt president in my lifetime because he thought that he was entitled to that, because he thought that that's what everybody was doing.
Right.
And it turns out that it was all in his head.
100%. So,
and I'm not just talking about looting money. Like, for him to use the IRS and the FBI as a weapon against his political enemies, I feel like he did it because he thought that that's what they were doing in the past. Hell no. They knew better. They had more respect. Even Bill Clinton had more respect for the government at large than to turn the FBI and whatever departments against their political enemies. Is just, they knew better.
Well, and he was governor for so long, and he kind of knew the inner workings of the government.
He's like, do that.
He's like, well, if I can get all the women's I got, and I just don't cross certain lines, all right, I'm good. I'll behave. Just let me have my women's. That's all.
We know what his main motive was. his main motive was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
So.
Since we're talking about this, let's get right into what's going on with Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
And you're like, what?
Is she in the news? Why can't she just go to prison?
Oh, yeah.
That would directly jail.
Do
not
jail.
collect $200. Do not pass go. Just go straight there. She should just turn herself in.
Right. So Benghazi's back in the news, folks.
Well, sometimes closure is necessary. Somebody needs to be held accountable.
I need closure on this, especially. And nothing here is shocking that I'm going to tell you. It's new information. It's not shocking. We've all predicted it. What may be shocking is that it's coming to light, and all the pieces are being put together like a nice big giant mosaic puzzle. All the different colored stones and the big giant mosaic.
Up close, it looks like somebody just paved with a bunch of little pieces of colored rock.
Right.
But you back out, you realize that it paints a picture.
Oh, it paints a dirty, dirty, dark picture.
Oh, gosh.
And this is what's going on. This is I think Catherine Heritage is absolutely my favorite investigative reporter, and she's on the beat with this one.
All right, the Obama administration is moving now to drop all charges against an arms dealer who threatened to expose a plan by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to arm anti-Gaddafi rebels in Libya back in 2011. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge live in Washington with that. Catherine?
Well, thank you, John. Working with senior executive producer Pamela Brown, we secured the only TV interview with arms dealer Mark Turi. And based on the interview, court documents, and emails from Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill, Turi makes a compelling case the Obama administration authorized a covert weapons program to arm the Libyan rebels in 2011 that spun out of control. This clip from the investigation first aired on the Fox Business Network.
Okay, real quick. She said emails from Democrats and Republicans. Emails gotten from Republicans and Democrats that this just wasn't a Democrat thing.
Okay.
It's both of them.
Okay.
Well, this would come under Secretary Clinton's watch.
This sworn affidavit released in May 2015 and obtained by Fox News indicates a covert weapons operation was authorized. Turi's partner and advisor was this man, David Manners. During his 18-year career at the CIA, he served as the top spy in Jordan and in the former Czechoslovakia. Manners stated in his expert opinion, the United States did participate directly or indirectly in the supply of weapons to the Libyan Transitional National Council.
That's where I came up with this zero footprint Arab supply chain.
And based on this new court filing, the Justice Department has now moved to dismiss the charges against Turi, in part because a trial that would happen around the election in November would publicly expose evidence about the administration's strategy to arm the Libyan opposition. The government motion reads in part in light of the court's discovery rulings, the administrative resolution between DDTC, that's a branch of the State Department that licenses weapons for sale, and the defendant and other factors, the government seeks leave of the court to dismiss the criminal matter. This case will now be resolved through a civil settlement which avoids litigation over Clinton's term as Secretary of State, as well as her emails. Turi told Fox as part of that investigation that he believes half of the weapons ended up in Libya and the other half went to Syrian groups who are not friendly to the United States. John.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so what does all this mean? Let's unpack some of this. First off, the guy, his name's right there. Where's his Turi. Mark Turi. I'm looking for his first name. So, first of all, Mark Turi is an arms dealer. Sounds like a pretty badass job, you ask me. Wouldn't mind being an arms dealer.
Lord of War.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a lot like that. So I watched the interview and I kind of got into it. Guy's pretty up and up on the straight up and up. He's an American. He's patriotic in the sense that he deals in arms. And his company, his corporation, works with the American government and the department that they described to be licensed and legally allowed to sell, which seems really strange, arms, weapons, military grade, military weapons.
Oh, they're literally supplying a war, right? A civil war or whatever kind of war you want to call it. And this is probably something we've been doing for probably at least 30, 40 years.
Long time.
In all kinds of different areas.
Right. Long time. So he's involved in this, and every time that he has to or gets involved, he made the comment that he gets involved in every single arms trade deal that he can possibly get in the middle of because he claims that his company can get over there, have a secured facility, secured transaction to the proper people, whoever's vetted, whoever the weapons are supposed to get to. Because if you think about it, if they're transferring weapons in huge cargo shipping containers from either America or one country to another country, and somebody finds out about it, why not just hijack the shipping container? Now we can start our own war for free. We stole everything. So he's talking about a secured facility. And so what he was doing is that he was instructed to deal with shipping arms to Libya. It was approved by the State Department. It was legal. It was legit. And when the Benghazi thing erupted and blew up, they knew that there was dirt on everybody's hands. So the State Department, or this department and the State Department started to go after him and his family, just like they're going after Donald Trump's family. And it's not that it's political. It's that he's non-political. He's a contractor. So don't blame it on the government. We're going to blame it on the contractor. We're going to sue him. We're going to sue his family. We're going to take everything he's got. It's going to be blamed on him, blamed on him, blamed on him. And it actually reminds me of a story when I was in the Air Force about a sergeant and a airman that were involved in an aircraft putting it back together. And when the aircraft took off, it actually crashed. And they arrested the sergeant and the senior airman and went through this long, drawn-out trial that went over a year and a half, 2 years. And I believe the senior airman killed himself.
That's not good.
No, that's the pressure they put on you.
Right.
So he killed himself. He's young, in his 20s. Senior airman, you're going to be in your 20s. And once he killed himself, that was it. Okay, case dismissed. We're good. It's solved. Which is a shame, but that's what the government does, and that's what it's come to. So that's what they were doing at Tory. And they were really after him. When he was indicted and he was arrested, and he started to fight back on the case, the first day, get this, Kerry, the first day of trial was going to be November 8th, 2016.
Which was a day before or the day of?
It was going to be the day of. So whatever, it was at November 7th?
I feel like it was November 9th.
9th.
Whichever day.
Whichever day. It was going to be the day of the election. And the run up to that trial, and they were so worried because he was ready. He said, I'm throwing all y'all under the bus. I got email, and that's the other thing too. Guys, he's got emails where he was emailing Hillary Clinton back and forth and state officials, and they're saying, oh yeah, let's arm Usher Broussard's opposition. Let's arm the ground troops. Let's arm them. Let's let them run them. And guess who else was involved? The late great John McCain. We've been saying this forever.
What a surprise! Yep.
And this was the lead up and the founding of the Donald Trump. Donald Trump called it out. The founding fathers of ISIS. And this also leads to another point that I've been making on and off, and I'm going to continue making this point. I really honestly believe that Donald Trump, with his power and wealth and the people that he knew, and that whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if I got to go through you to get this business deal done, I'll go through you, whatever it takes to be done. I honestly believe that Donald Trump saw behind the veil and said, "No, man. I've done some things with y'all, but this, I can't do this."
How would he see behind the veil, though, when the people whose job it would be to pull the curtain back would certainly not want the curtain pulled back? There's probably whistleblowers in there that would probably be like, "Hey, Mr. President, I saw what's behind the curtain."
Oh yeah,
and would tell him, but he has to kind of take that not with a grain of salt, but he has to kind of weigh the pros and cons of believing these people.
When after you win the election, 8 to 10 days later, Admiral Mike Rogers knocks on the hotel front door and says, "Hey, can you call up to Trump? We got a room here in the towers that we need to talk real quick."
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's true.
And apparently they spent 8 days, Admiral Mike Rogers spent 8 days setting up a skiff so that Trump and him could have a private one-on-one. After that meeting, Trump and company bugged out of Trump Towers, never to return again.
Right. That's an absolute true story. I mean, we've heard from the people who we're not just speculating. We're not talking about stuff we've read on an article somewhere. It has been confirmed by people who would be able to confirm it with us.
Right. So if you want to follow along with this story, definitely, and you're on Twitter, definitely go to @Roscoe, ROSCOE, the letter B as in boy, Davis, and the number 1. Roscoe B. Davis 1 has a huge thread with all these videos and the document. And WikiLeaks, folks, WikiLeaks is still at it. They haven't given up. They're still at it. They're releasing all kinds of there are 6,700 emails between Hillary Clinton and all of them. Everybody. Unredacted. Cheryl Mills and everybody. Christopher Stevens. Everybody. All on the WikiLeaks that exposes all of this. This is all fact, not fiction anymore, y'all. This is fact. We knew it happened. We just didn't know how. Now all the pieces come together. Okay, so Hillary Clinton told stand down order multiple times on purpose.
Right.
On purpose. Mm-hmm. They had little to no security there in Benghazi on purpose because they didn't want people to get to thinking, oh, what's going on over there?
But they knew that it was super dangerous.
But they didn't care. It was in the emails.
It was a botched arms deal.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right. Who was that? Was that Glenn Beck that called that?
Gosh, it's been a while, but there were a lot of people. I can't remember where it originated from, but a lot of people reported on that. So it's not like we're not breaking news right now.
No. But the fingerprints are all exposed. Right. All the fingerprints are all over it. This is why I say that Barack Obama was so ignorant. He didn't know. Honestly, he said to me, get to heaven is to ask God, say, God, did Obama really know anything that was going on? And God's like, no, man, he know nothing. He's clueless. I believe you because of all these dirty deeds that are going on by Hillary Clinton, by Sally Yates, by James Comey, by Clapper, by Brennan, by Rosenstein. The list is forever long of all these people doing their own thing. Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder just doing their own thing. Whatever they need to do, they do it. Okay, so Hillary Clinton, she's a botched thing all in itself, but this is all her fault. Sean Smith and the CIA contractors, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, all three died because of the stand-down orders that were, I think there were 3 or 4. They didn't want to draw attraction. They wanted this to go away, and that's why it hasn't gone away, because it's so damning. So real quick, Hillary Clinton, John McCain, and Obama, with Obama's permission, dealt illegally war arms through Libya. Rand Paul. Rand Paul's on this. Rand Paul knew it, and he asked her under oath multiple, and that's the damning thing. Rand Paul asked Hillary Clinton under oath, remember? Mm-hmm. At this point in time, what difference does it make?
That was such an awesome response.
So we're going all the way back to there, and this is the reason why this is so relevant. Because when Rand Paul was asking her these questions, it seemed out of context, and people were like, what's he getting at? Well, folks, Rand Paul's been up there a long time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm.
And I think Rand Paul knew he just couldn't say because of classifications or whatnot. But at least he got it on the record. Here's Rand Paul real quick.
Information on that.
We have new information as of last week now. And in his first television interview since the story broke.
Yeah. Let me make sure that they know. Is this from 2013?
Okay, the first one where you saw the picture of Hillary speaking, that was just to reference you back to then. That was all the way back in 2013. Now this is Rand Paul speaking to Fox News, his first interview in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
On Fox Files, Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky is here this morning, also running for president. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We remember that day well. You asked about Turkey. She said she did not know. You asked about other countries, any countries, and then referred your question to the agency, which we assumed at the time was the CIA. What are we led to believe now, do you think, Senator?
I find it very hard to believe that Hillary Clinton didn't know. In fact, she was the biggest cheerleader for sending these arms and redistributing these arms into Syrian rebels. And the reason why this is an important issue, many of the people who receive these arms are not friends of America. Many of them are linked to Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and some of these weapons may well have wound up in the hands of people who became ISIS. So this is no small fact. Whether or not she told the truth is a big deal, and some of the emails coming out about Benghazi indicate that maybe she did know a lot more about this arms trade than she let on. And I don't think our public officials should be allowed to come before congressional committees and lie. But it's also concerning because the big problem we face now with ISIS, did it have anything to do with Hillary Clinton arming people who either became ISIS or who were friends or allies of ISIS?
You dropped the L word. Was she lying, Senator? Is that what you're saying?
I think there's a very good chance, because I think there's no way that Hillary Clinton did not know about this. Her private emails show that she was the one supporting arming these people. And the other thing is that I think some of these arms were going through Qatar. And a lot of news reports are saying that Qatar was very indiscriminate in the way they distributed these arms. But there were actually weapons that have shown up in Afghanistan that were U.S. weapons used against us that came through Qatar. So I think we have to be very careful, and when we select a commander-in-chief, do we want a commander-in-chief who is so sloppy about who they give arms to that we're now at war again with ISIS that is using, they have $1 billion of our Humvees, for goodness sakes. But really, the question needs to be asked of Republicans and Democrats, was it a good idea to give people arms who were fighting alongside ISIS?
I understand the case you're making.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry about that.
Oh, so ugly. So ugly.
Yeah, so what he's talking about, what's going on right now. Yes, she was dealing arms and enriching themselves to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, $500 million at times. I mean, we're talking about so much money that was going on in trading hands. And there's other reports now that are saying that $2 billion went through the Clinton Foundation during her tenure. This is where all the money came from. And we're talking about they were using these weapons, these rockets, the SAM, surface-to-air missiles. Mm-hmm. They were using these against our troops. They were killing our boys.
Wow. It's like this policy that goes back to the Cold War era that for some reason, I don't know if it's the military-industrial complex that you can't defund them. You can't reduce them. You can't make it smaller. You can't shrink it. It just has to keep on going, has to get bigger, or at least maintain the same size of Cold War era levels. As you're describing this, the arming of ISIS basically, or it ends up in ISIS hands, it kind of reminded me of it would be the Operation Cyclone, which I don't expect anybody listening to know what this is, but it was depicted in the movie Charlie Wilson's War, which is a very interesting movie with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks played Charlie Wilson. He was a senator, I believe, at the time, and he was arming as a congressman. He was arming the Mujahideen who were fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan, which were the freedom fighters that we hear about back in the 80s that ended up actually largely contributing to or being one of the puzzle pieces that helped destroy the Soviet Union by bankrupting them, which sounds all great and good, but we find out years later it kind of ended up being a big part of what we ended up getting attacked by on 9/11. So there are consequences to actions. However, for those of you too young to know, Brian and I could both explain to you the importance of defeating the Soviet Union in the Cold War. So at the time, it was definitely, well, first of all, I don't think that people were thinking, we might want to think twice about doing so much arming of Afghanis, freedom fighters, back in the 80s, right, because it could come back to haunt us, which it did. But fast forward to today, and we're doing this stuff we're not fighting Soviets anymore. What are we doing here?
This is Hillary Clinton's war.
Jeez.
And ironically, she deposed, murdered, killed Muammar, Libya.
We saw, he died. Yeah.
Just a complete civil war to this day. There is nothing, it's just I don't know. So anyway, so she did that, and now they're funding these if you're trying to spread democracy by funding these guerrilla warfare guys on the ground. I see what
you're saying. So you're saying funding democracy would be what they were thinking they were doing by fighting the Soviets, which I honestly wonder if anybody dreamt that this was actually going to be the end of the Soviet Union. I think they were just thinking, let's beat them in Afghanistan. Let's just pump millions and billions of dollars of fighting, hardware into Afghanistan to help defeat the Soviets. I honestly don't know if somebody were actually, this could actually lead to the complete collapse of the entire country of the Soviet Union. And what that would leave is a big vacuum, and then you have all these Afghanis that are armed and trained, and maybe it could come back to haunt us.
Okay, so somebody in the comments section said, "What about your boy Gowdy?" Well, he's not my boy.
Apparently not our boy.
He's not my boy.
No.
And no longer is he a civil servant.
Well, he was obviously working on behalf of the deep state against Donald Trump and the Trump movement. I don't think it was willingly. I honestly, based on everything we know about Trey Gowdy, this would have been a decision that he was forced to make based on blackmail.
Had to have been, I agree 100%, because he led us to believe that he was doing his job by finding.
By the way, the comment section is in a brawl right now. They're talking about a subject that we're not talking about.
Oh man!
They're having a debate over who's more worthy of prison, Trump or Hillary Clinton, and they're battling back and forth. And the guy who's making the case for Trump and his cronies, I guess, going to prison, he's ignoring the fact that the illegalities are manufactured by those who should be in prison right now.
Right.
So he's ignoring all that.
Trey Gowdy had an opportunity to do a lot of great things, and he didn't. He was misled. He was looking for something that wasn't there. Whether it was or wasn't, he never found. He never came to any conclusions. He never presented any indictments or evidence. And then his last day in office, we reported this just for the new year. His last day in office. Yeah, there's. We didn't find anything, Kerry.
Yeah, didn't find anything.
So that report, I'll get it to you on Monday.
Well, it's like the Comey.
Did they get the report?
You pointed out that the report that ended up not being a report at all.
It wasn't even written.
There was nothing. There was no report. It was like, let's see if we can end this thing and not have a report.
Because you saw
nobody will notice.
Because you saw what happened to Comey. You saw what happened to Comey when he gave up a report.
Right. Well, he's still free, by the way.
We're not going to do
still free. So
we're Republicans.
Oh, well, they would argue that Comey was. And by the way, people like Bill Kristol would be like, yeah, he's a Republican, and
just like me. It's just like John Kasich.
And Joe Walsh.
Poor Joey.
Oh, Joe Walsh. Walsh Freedom, by the way, if you don't know. Former congressman who's bitching about a wall, who could have advocated for a wall while he was congressman. He literally had a job at one point where he could have put a wall up.
Well, he and Chuck Schumer and the rest, Chuck Schumer put up $8 billion for the wall and didn't pass. Anyway, all right, we're not at the wall right now.
All right, we're going to get to the wall.
Yeah. So real quick, okay, so I showed you the video. Michael J. Rogers was the chair of the House Intel Committee, and the next morning, after all this went down, the very next morning, through email, he wanted to talk about weapons in Libya. Rogers was a war hawk and McCain loyalist. The cover-up was already beginning. So we've got all these power players involved. John McCain is dead center in this. He is really
Did you say dead center?
Oh, man.
Too soon.
Did I slip?
A little bit.
Okay. So Mark Turr, we're going back to the arms dealer. Mark Turr is from Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. Is that a quinky dink?
Where'd John McCain live?
Somewhere in AZ.
Somewhere in AZ. And just happened to be a neighbor of the late, great John McCain. So John McCain's your neighbor.
Yeah.
You set up an arms dealing business.
Okay.
And there's nothing coincidental about that.
Well, we all suspected that John McCain was the big player.
Yeah, there are emails, his name, and other Republicans, not just John McCain, But there are other Republicans as well.
Well, it would explain why there's a lot of cover-up. There's a lot of, hey, don't mess around with Hillary Clinton on the right.
And it's kind of ironic. A lot of Republicans have just left.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to believe that somebody who's an incumbent would say, you know what, I'm just not on the same page with this new Republican Party. I'm going to go ahead and pack up and get out of here. I almost feel like deals were made.
I can't.
Deals had to be.
Yes.
I'll tell you what.
You heard it here first.
You
heard it here first, folks.
If you resign, it might make it worth your while.
Yeah.
Might make it. You know, there's $100 in my wallet.
Or maybe there isn't.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay.
So.
All right. So Mark Tur was neighbor John McCain. John McCain, who has been on the Senate Arms Committee for years.
What a coincidence.
Actually helped Tur secure billions in dollars in arms contracts with the Department of Defense.
Could we have some Hollywood producer or screenwriter or something come up with Lord of War Part 2? Can we have a sequel?
Yeah, have a sequel. Go ahead, bash Republicans all day long. I don't care what their title is. If they're doing this to undermine America.
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh, throw them all out there.
Right.
Include Bill Kristol and the former Weekly Standard.
And
I mean, not that he don't work there no more. He had to close up shop.
And a former lifetime businessman who is now the President of the United States would I guarantee you, be like the guy in the movie that comes in like, what the hell is going on here? If there was any honesty to it.
Right.
If there was any honesty.
Right.
And that's the whole thing about having Donald Trump be elected president. The people wanted him in office because even though we didn't know the details of this, we just know something's wrong.
Right.
We know something's wrong, and we had to have somebody come in and upset the apple cart.
Right. We were tired of the lesser of two evils. So right after secured contracts with the DOD, then Clinton and McCain both together hatched a plan to arm al-Qaeda to get them to overthrow Gaddafi. And also a side note on this, but very, very relevant, Hillary Clinton, and I don't know anything about McCain on this one, but she saw an opportunity to get contractors that were part and parcel paid. They would pay her back for contracts to mining contracts in after Muammar was killed. Then they'd have all these, and she also promised all these different fractions that they would have power. She could care less. She could absolutely care less. It's all about money, 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 money. So Tur, going back to the contractor, Tur's testified his arms shipments destined for the Libyan rebels and channeled through Qatar and the UAE were part of the U.S. authorized effort. Tur said that the Obama administration was complicit in the shipment of weapons from Libya to the rebels in Syria who were fighting the Assad regime. The DOJ was forced to drop Tur prosecution because federal prosecutors were convinced his defense would expose Clinton's secret arms running to the radicals, the al-Qaeda-affiliated militia in Libya in 2011. The Department of Justice faced a deadline to turn over discovery of documents, and the legal team of Mark Tur, who had been charged with selling weapons to Libyan rebels, they told him, he said, October 5th, an announcement came DOJ was dropping the case, which was set to go on trial November 8th, election 2016.
So should he be charged? Are you upset?
No, he's completely innocent. He legally did it. He got permission.
Oh, okay. So they're dropping the case against him because what he did, he was given permission.
He has legal government documents to permit him to ship arms. And now all of a sudden, Russia comes to Syria's aid to fight the. I mean, it's Charlie's War all over again.
Yeah, and like I said, there's a distinction that we should pay attention to, and that is that we were fighting against the Soviets. There was all this stuff. You got to watch Charlie Wilson's War to really truly appreciate what it is. The comparisons. So there's like this.
Hold on. Hillary Clinton watched that war and said,
I could do that. I should do that. Because I'm important.
Oh,
and I want to, and I don't, I'm not going to say this out loud, but in my subconscious, I feel worthless.
Right.
By the way, somebody pointed out that Ted Nugent, who was invited to the White House by President Trump, called Hillary Clinton a worthless POS. A worthless POS.
But he say POS or he said peace?
And
peace
it was on stage in front of probably a couple dozen, 10,000 people.
Nice.
On the mic, on stage, called her a worthless POS. I'm just saying that there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that Hillary also believes it.
Yeah.
And
it
felt like if she could have her Charlie Wilson moment, her little pet project, if you will, that it'll make her feel like she's not so worthless.
Right.
And by the way, I mean, here's a woman who felt like back in 1992, when her husband was elected president, she had so much to do with that. They really wanted her to be president and assume the position of president. And by the way, Bill, he was just there for the women.
Oh,
he was just there for the women. Yeah. So he was glad to give up all responsibility as president to his wife until the media called him out on it.
Yeah.
And the media was like, whoa, what's going on here? I thought you were president and not you, Hillary. And that's when Bill said, whoa. I am the president. And, all right, fine. I'll start to do some work around here.
You got me.
Kind of threw Hillary off the side. And, of course, she was upset about that. And here we are, fast forward all those years later, when she became Madam Secretary.
Yes. Jeez.
Oh, by the way, that show is still running. Which, by the way, is they're doing border episodes now.
Wow.
That's and by amazing. The way, for those of you that don't know, Madam Secretary was started in order to provide the propaganda necessary to get Hillary Clinton elected as president by making her look good as Secretary of State by portraying a woman that looks and dresses and talks and all of that as Hillary Clinton doing a good job as Secretary of State.
Yeah,
and nonsense. Here it is. I can't believe it's still in the air, but it is. So
all the containers in Qatar that were diverted on the docks from Turi's shipment delivered between 50 and 60 of those same Stingers to the Taliban in early 2012, and an additional 200 SA-24 Ingla S SAMs, surface-to-air. 200 carry surface-to-air missiles. I mean, it goes on and on, folks. So, again, you've got to follow Roscoe B. Davis 1. He also writes this as well. A Defense Department docs from the Defense Intelligence Agency. Okay, just want you to hear that. Defense Department docs from the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, from back during all this debacle. 2011, 12, era. 13, 14.
Right.
DIA, keep that in mind. Dated 9/12/12, the day after the Benghazi attack, details the attack on the compound had been carefully planned by Bokar terrorist group to kill as many Americans as possible. Who, Kerry, was the director of the DIA?
I don't remember. Back in 2012?
Yeah.
No idea.
The director of the DIA at the time when Benghazi went down and who was warning Hillary Clinton. The director was warning Hillary Clinton about what was going on. Was warning the State Department, warning Leon Panetta, and warning Barack Obama. The attack is coming to Benghazi. It's been planned. It's 10 days in the planning. They spent 10 days to plan the Benghazi attack. The director of the DIA was warning all of them that it was coming down. That man, General Flynn.
Interesting. So he absolutely would know things that...
Oh, he knows now.
He knows things that would put people in prison for very serious crimes.
Yep. All of them. All of them.
Interesting.
General Flynn, now you know why they are so desperate to get Flynn out of the seat of National Security Advisor, obviously. He knew the truth. The document was sent to then Secretary Hillary Clinton, then Defense Leon Panetta, and Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Obama White House National Security Council. Flynn knew where all the bodies were buried. It's the reason Obama had to get rid of Flynn. Obama, riding in the car with Barack Obama, said to Obama said to Trump, Obama said to Trump while they're riding in the car together that you cannot trust Flynn. General Flynn, you got to get rid of that one. I wanted to get rid of him. I want to get rid of him. That's a bad one, bad seed. That's no good. Don't trust that one. If I give you a word of advice, Trump.
That would be the instantly I'd be like, okay, that guy I would trust. Why would he trust Obama to give him legitimate information? I mean, it's his deep state that was ordered either directly by him or implied that you should do a coup d'etat.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Unbelievable.
So now we've got a bigger picture of what's going on. The emails that are out by WikiLeaks, they're everywhere. Not only that, but Judicial Watch has sued for so many documents, and they're starting to come in finally. It's ironic, all this starting to come in, and Mr. Sessions ain't around no more.
So I think this is relevant, so I'm going to address a commenter again, same commenter. Before he was trolling off topic, but he's on topic now, so it's a good time to address it.
Sweet.
He's accusing us of having Hillary derangement syndrome, wishing that she won, and I would like to point out that we have dead heroes who were left to die on purpose, possibly, by Hillary Clinton, all right? Justice has not been served, and there's a lot of people who are either Hillary supporters or just maybe they don't take it as seriously, or maybe they don't believe how heinous the crimes were, who feel that her not winning the presidency is sufficient punishment for these kinds of crimes. And she's just one of many that should be in, what did you call it, BP prison?
APP.
Should be an APP
prison, yeah.
For the crimes that they've done. And you can't just simply say, well, she ran for president, she really wanted it, it must be devastating to her to not have won it, and that right there is punishment enough for her because these things were pointed out also while she ran, which would have deterred people from voting for her. That's true, but is that really sufficient punishment? This is new news, by the way. We're not just like this guy's making it sound like we're sitting there stewing at home. Oh, what's something I could bring up from 2 years ago or 3 years ago or what are we now? 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah.
7 years ago. What's something we can bring up from 6.5, 7 years ago that would make me feel good, that would punish Hillary Clinton? No, this is new revelation. This is new news, people. And justice should have no time limit when it comes to crimes committed, particularly, there is no statute of limitation, particularly on crimes that lead to the death of innocent people.
Sedition, treason, death,
murder.
Murder.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say sedition and treason, she actually they all of them. They broke UN international laws.
Yeah, and don't think for a second that we would hesitate to go after Obama because, oh, well, he's gone now. When it comes to utilizing departments of our government to go after political opposition, they should go after his ass too.
Absolutely, 100%. So real quick, just so we got this straight, just kind of recap real quick because our friend has some personal issues. I'm just going to play a minute clip. This is Catherine Heritage. This isn't on the ground reporter. She is digging and sources and on the ground and documents, and she's compiling and putting all this together. And if I got paid enough to do that, I'd love to do it too. But my whole point is...
By the way, go to smithradio.com and click on that donate button.
Appreciate it much. So this is Catherine Heritage. I'm just going to play a minute of this clip to kind of just revisit what is going on for our friend with a little bit of an issue.
I'm Catherine Herridge on Capitol Hill. It's been nearly 3 years since Ambassador Chris Stevens, Foreign Service Officer Sean Smith, and former Navy SEALs Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty were murdered in Benghazi, Libya. And even today, congressional investigators doubt they have all of the emails from Mrs. Clinton's server when she was Secretary of State. In this Fox Files investigation, new details are emerging about what President Obama's team and members of Congress knew about weapons pouring into the region during the chaotic Arab Spring in 2011.
Well, this would come under Secretary Clinton's watch.
American arms dealer Mark Turi is at the center of a federal investigation involving Libya, Syria, and Turkey. Turi is president of the Turi Defense Group, a company that for decades has been licensed and regulated by the State Department to sell and move tons of weapons around the world. He spoke exclusively to Fox News.
If a certain country is brokering various types of equipment, we try to get involved. Primarily weapons and ammunition, transportation, logistics, government liaison.
Turi says he is haunted by what he thinks happened when there was a failure to oversee who got the weapons pouring into Syria, Libya, and elsewhere in the Middle East during the Arab Spring. Officially, those who receive or use weapons following U.S. policy are referred to as end users. In 2011, Turi pursued Libya as a business opportunity as dictator Muammar Gaddafi's regime was falling apart.
If you had a properly allocated supply chain where you had everything under control, you would have had our personnel receiving that equipment on the ground in Libya and then taking it back to a warehouse under our control and then giving it to vetted sources. If they would have followed that procedure, maybe Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith and Ty Woods or Glenn Doherty would be alive today.
There you go.
I don't know. You can argue with that all day long, but I don't know how you can.
Put him on the stand. I think it's time that he should be a witness against her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this is now referred to not criminal anymore. It's going to be civil. So he may actually receive some kind of monetary compensation of sorts. I don't know what's going on now.
Okay.
But it's no more criminal, and it's walked back. Certainly the new AG could do something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes. I was looking for some pictures. There's some pictures that they have that they're being put up and everywhere on the internet now. Their weapons seized from Gaddafi's regime, the weapons that were supplied by the State Department in 2011 through the CIA, filtered through Mark Turi, cloaked as DOD contractor. Many of the rebels Clinton armed using weapons lawfully sold to Qatar by Mark Turi and others.
Wow, he is literally Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Wow.
We're terrorist groups who are our sworn enemies, and they were enabling them and costing American lives and endangering thousands.
Okay.
So I talked about earlier this week in a scope about General Flynn. The whole thing with General Flynn is now wide open. It is just blowed so far open, folks. I know Dan Bongino talked about this a little bit, but there was an article written in The Hill, and it opened up some issues, and it shined light on different things with General Flynn. And the thing about what happened with Flynn, they're claiming that he lied to Vice President. Well, the Vice President, and then a couple other things that are unrelated to that situation. He misspoke to the Vice President. That's how it's worded. Misspoke to the Vice President about having a conversation.
Well, that was like the reason it was demanded that he be fired.
Right.
But what he's in trouble for was apparently, or I should say allegedly, lying to the FBI, for which we now know
it's not a lie.
Right. The agents that actually did the interview
and then
are saying, no, he didn't lie. Right. So it's Mueller who has invented the lies, and I think it's just General Flynn's discipline, military-style discipline, his personality or whatever, that's just accepting this. A part of it, too, is that he's out of money, and he figures that he could get the least amount of punishment or the least amount of pain and suffering to his life and his family's lives by pleading guilty. And that's where we're at. That's the system of justice that we have in America. I think it needs overhauled. I think it's pretty sad when we have so many people making the determination that it would just be better for their life in the long run if they go ahead and plead guilty to something that they're innocent of. And we finally get Mr. Corsi, who's like, no, I'm fighting that.
I'm fighting this now. His $380 million lawsuit against Mueller is greenlit to go ahead and go through.
That is so
good
awesome.
times. So General Flynn, after the Obama administration, while he was helping run with Trump and he was helping Trump out, General Flynn notified the DIA, the department that he used to head up. He notified them and told them, said, hey, I'm going to a gala, I'm going to a convention, an event in Russia. Putin's going to be there. It's Russia Today event. I'm going to go over there. And in his briefing that he talked with him, he said, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to check it out. If I learn anything, if I find anything out, I'll bring back the information. And former intel guys that hold their top security clearances do this for a reason. They hold on to their clearances even though they're not in, because they can still be used as assets. Although that they're not getting paid or not working for the government, they'll hold their clearances, and that's exactly what Flynn did. So Flynn announces to them that he's going over to a Russia Today event. Putin's going to be there. It's going to be a dinner. He's going to speak. He received tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know. I think it was like $14,000. Flynn received an X amount of money that the government is saying they're not sure that he properly brought that back. Just like if the IRS wants you, there is a rule that they can find that you broke.
It's convoluted on purpose.
I'm just saying, Hillary Clinton can funnel $2 billion through her Clinton Foundation, yet Flynn can't come back with $14,000 and information about what he.
It's necessarily complicated so that bad people can utilize it for their gain and as a weapon against their opposition.
Right. So this is how this dovetails together with the Clintons, folks. Not only that, but this also dovetails with Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, McCabe, Comey, all of them. There was a guy working for the State Department that's alerted his boss and said, hey, I'm looking through some of these payments and some of these things, and I'm seeing this contractor guy. He's getting paid tens of thousands of dollars per sentence that he writes. What's all this about? Lo and behold, his boss said, oh, okay, good boy. By the way, you're suspended and your security clearance has been pulled. That was a no. Shouldn't have done that. Come to find out, that was Halper, a guy by the name Halper, who was the original spy. The original spy was Halper that spied on the Papadopoulos, the Carter Page, and the General Flynn. And some people are saying that Halper may have set up to where General Flynn on purposely sat directly next to Putin during this event. So the event's over and done. General Flynn comes back to America. He goes right to the DIA for a debriefing. He tells him, he says, hey, this is what I found out.
So he said he disclosed everything.
Yes.
Okay.
So now that's out there. There is no possibility of a Russia, because if there was, why would you tell the department?
Right. You would try to cover something up, which is what they're trying to paint the picture as, is that he lied in order to personal gain or collusion with Russia.
Well, if they're tapping Trump's wires, they're tapping General Flynn's wires, and that's the other thing too. After this event went down, this event went down in 2015. Now they've got their narrative. It's going to be Russia, because my personal opinion is they think that us Republicans hate Russia. We don't. We don't hate Russia. Hate the USSR and communism, but not Russia. I personally think that played a little bit into it, but something else that played into it is that the Clintons were nose deep into Russia with the uranium one. Oh, by the way, General Flynn knows all about the uranium one. There is so much that he could spill on these guys that they absolutely had to destroy his life, and get rid of him. So that went down in 2015. Fast forward, the Russia's not really coming together like they wanted to.
Right.
Campaign's over, Trump wins, and they flip out. They lose it. They have no idea. Now it's time to go into overdrive, full force, blowed mode. And
I honestly think that the Russia thing was an attempt to try to get them on something leading up to the election. But since it didn't work, they had to wait until it was November 24th or something like that. It was
right. Oh, when the dossier was made public.
No. There was the original Washington Post Russia.
Where they picked that up.
And that led to us having our December 11th, 2016 groundbreaking reporting on Russia, where we debunk it. And it's held up perfectly to this day.
Yep.
If you want to go look at that, it's audio only because that was back before we started video. And it's a masterpiece.
If you do Google Russia, Smith Radio, it'll be the first thing that pops up.
Oh, yeah, it'll be right there at the top. Definitely listen to that. It's groundbreaking reporting. And it's really just exposing the fact that the whole Washington Post article was crap. But it wasn't until January 10th that the dossier came out, which was the BuzzFeed article.
Right.
So January 10th, 2017. This is all after the election. So it was an attempt to mount a coup of our duly elected president.
Now, the reason why it came out in January, the Russia thing, is because they had the wires tapped, and they knew General Flynn was going to take a little siesta, a little vacay after the hard-fought election.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of December, around the Christmas, New Year holidays, him and his family take off to the Dominican Republic, hanging out, got nothing going on. That's when Barack Hussein Obama, remember that when just before he left office and Trump had not assumed office yet, Barack Obama at the end of in December expelled the Russian diplomats.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, what the hell?
You know, in hindsight, if you reverse engineer the whole thing, and conspiracy theorists can actually do it really well, it looks like if you walk backwards all the way back to the initial actions, it almost seems like this was all a long-term plan to legitimize a false accusation of Russian collusion. It's like, let's start to propagandize the public into not trusting Russians. Let's start to get like that Cold War mentality back. Let's start to accuse Putin of ex-KGB, and that he wants to get the Soviet Union back together and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, he's practically dictator. If he really wanted to turn the Soviet Union back into, or I should say the Russia back into Soviet Union, which was full-blown communism, he has the power to do that. The fact that he hasn't done it indicates that he doesn't want to.
Right. I mean, he could have done a lot of things, but here's what's going on now. He expels the Russian diplomats. He did this on purpose to trigger a specific diplomat that was friends and worked with General Flynn. Like, they had their cell phone numbers. And General Flynn had talked to him many times before in the past, so it wasn't uncommon for Kislyak to just call General Flynn up. So he expels the Russians, and Kislyak knows that General Flynn's next in coming. He calls him on vacation. He's down there having a couple of drinks, kicking it back. Who knows what time of the day or what hour of the day that Kislyak called him. But I am sure a former military personnel might have been kicking back a couple drinks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Possible. Could have called him in the middle of a talk with some other friends or whatever. So he picks up the phone, talks to Kislyak for a few minutes, whatever, be done. Okay, when I get back into America, I'm paraphrasing, I get back to America, we'll work all this out. So that call was recorded and illegally wiretapped by the Obama administration. That transcript was given to Peter Strzok and the other guy that went with him, that his name is, I think it was Pierce something, I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry, folks, you're killing me here.
Okay.
Anyway, so Strzok gets the transcript, and his partner goes with him. They both go to the White House because Comey told them to go do it. Break protocol, Don't tell the White House.
They broke
just
every single
go
rule in the book.
Do it.
They just decided we're gonna turn this into a mafia style.
Well, John
situation.
Boehner said impeachment's off the table, so we do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know if you don't understand civics. Which, by the way, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Watching, doing a little show prep earlier today, and they showcased this woman who came up with a new website called iCivics.
Oh, no.
Where it teaches young children civics using games.
Oh, no.
It's full-blown communist, globalist propaganda crap, PC culture, the whole nine. Such missed opportunities. But anyway.
It is.
I digress.
But wrapping all that up, General Flynn had to have been gotten rid of. They had to get him. He knows more than anybody combined, all wrapped up. He's really, really in the know.
Yeah. Well, getting back to finishing my thought on the civics thing. Guys, the only way to keep the president accountable and keep him legal and not perform what we would consider high crimes and misdemeanors.
Yes, high crimes.
There's a check on that. It's called Congress can impeach you. When you take that off the table, you also take off the possibility that your president will not commit high crimes and misdemeanors.
Right.
And so let the games begin when you pull that off the table, flat out. And that's what happened. We have high crimes and misdemeanors by Obama because he was given the green light by John Boehner, who was Speaker of the House at the time, and he said impeachment's off the table. So there's your civics lesson, not physics lesson. Civics.
Physics would be receiving $84 million and distributing that amongst all the 50 states that the DNC channels. That $84 million, ironically, within 24 hours, all the little pieces of $84 million wound up back in the Clinton Foundation during the election.
Yeah.
You can talk about some fraud all day long. There's investigations. Supposedly there's investigations going on in the Clinton Foundation about the Clinton Foundation. Where that goes, who knows? I'm not holding my breath. Bill Clinton collected a $500,000 paycheck for speaking in Moscow, but nobody wants to talk about that. It's unbelievable, folks. But
meanwhile, there's a lot of innuendo. That's what it boils down to with Trump. Everything that they claim he's doing that should be either impeachable or he should resign or he should be charged with something is nothing more than just innuendo. And it's so easy for the leftists because they hate business. They hate capitalism. They hate businessmen. They hate wealthy and successful businessmen. And so it's easy for them to find anything that Trump's ever done in his entire lifetime and say, look at that. It should be criminal. That's what it boils down to.
Right.
He's talking to Russians. Well, it's because he was trying to open up a international hotel in Moscow. I mean, that's what you do when you're an international businessman, particularly somebody who's in the hotel industry. I mean, this is just turning a nothing burger into scandal. And it's all innuendo. But when you look at the possible crimes and felonies and misdemeanors and all kinds of scandals and corruption that our actual elected officials in the Democrat Party have been involved in, it's real, it's tangible, there's actual evidence of it, and the evidence is being ignored. The facts and events and the players are all being whitewashed, swept under the rug. And that's what we're dealing with right now. It's like the double standard. It's like accuse Trump of all this stuff with nothing more than innuendo and, that just doesn't seem right. A rich person talking to people of other countries in order to line his pockets. Well, I mean, that's not what a businessman does. He tries to earn money.
Well, see, it's projection because they go lining their pockets, but they do it illegally.
Yeah, they do it with government funds, which is actually illegal. So that's what we're dealing with. And that sums up the difference between the two parties is hiding the real crimes of the one party while accusing the other innocent party of all the things that you're actually accusing the other of.
That you did do.
Yeah,
Right.
it's called projection.
Yep.
So
100%. Where's this going to go? 2019. Well, Mueller's just announced he needs 6 more months.
he needs he needs 6 more months. 6 more to do what?
I gotta find it, man. I
haven't found nothing yet. I know it's out there.
It's out there.
I know it's out
You
there.
know if there was collusion. You know if there was something dirty. You know they'd have leaked it by now.
Oh, certainly.
They would have been
they
leaked.
have the deep state. They have the wiretaps. They have created the infrastructure to bypass the Bill of Rights.
Right.
And that's called illegal because the Bill of Rights is the part of the Constitution that we consider the supreme law of the land. And by bypassing that, they are acting extra constitutionally, i.e., illegally. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a lawless banana republic, a shadow government, if you will. Because a lot of people say, well, what are you accusing? You're accusing the government that Donald Trump is in charge of all these crimes and stuff. I mean, isn't Trump supposed to be in charge of all this? Is he the architecture of it? Well, no, we have a shadow government that has been put in place by the previous administration that's being told, and this is the thing, sometimes at some point the Trump administration, who are allies of Trump, who are not engaging in the coup d'etat, should come forward and say, you know what, we're not putting up with this crap anymore and doing something about it. But the reason they're not is because they're being misled by the mainstream media and the besides the members of deep state and the shadow government, or if you guys need definitions on that, let me know. I can detail that, but it's we've detailed that in many previous episodes. I could discuss it in DMs too, but it's being told that, well, Brian, these are independent departments of the executive government. They should not be subject to oversight by the executive, which is the President of the United States, because they should maintain a level of independence. This is exactly what a power-hungry branch of the government that's supposed to be overseeing. Literally, the DOJ, who we're told is supposed to maintain independence from their boss.
Come on, man. That don't even you go into work tomorrow and tell your boss to go to hell. Come on.
Well, what it is it's like a department that is an infiltration of the legislative branch of the executive. They've infiltrated, like they bypass the normal constitutional checks and balances by saying, well, we need a fourth branch government. Well, we won't call it the fourth branch. We'll just say it's a part of the executive branch. We'll call it the DOJ, the Department of Justice, more like injustice. And we'll just tell everybody, and we'll teach all the school children through our education department, which is the Department of Indoctrination. We'll just tell everybody that the DOJ must maintain a level of independence. That is, by definition, a fourth branch of government. And it's working in concert with Congress against the executive branch.
Right, 100%. Hey, we're at the top of the hour, folks. I just want to give you a heads up. If you look at the title description, it says at Smith Radio and also at New Right Media. Okay. New Right Network. New Right Network in NRN. We are working with them in conjunction with them and all the other MAGA movers and shakers that are doing this independently. We do this on our own time, as well as with you Patreons who have been so unbelievably generous. We thank you so very, very much to be able to give us a studio that we labor free.
It was free labor.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you could see the little nooks and crannies of that free labor. Anyways, but there's a lot of people like us. You guys know us as new media outlet type people. So we're all joining together under one big umbrella, one big giant tent, the New Right Network. Had a first conference call after the new year that we were a part of, and the things that they're talking about doing and the things that they have done in the past and the direction that they're moving in 2019 for 2020 is extremely exciting. I'm very, very happy to be a part of it, to be with them. And a lot of the folks that are involved with them now are writers. They write different articles.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we're going to start showcasing some of their writers on our show so that you can get to know who some of these new MAGA writers are, people that have America first in mind.
I love it.
So you can read their articles and find out and follow them on social media, whatnot.
Right.
But definitely social media, go hit the New Right Network, the @New Right Network, and follow them as well.
I need to start writing on a daily basis. It's a lot of hard work.
And if you're a writer, and you like to write and you write good articles, or at least you think they're good,
DM me and I'll put in a good word for you.
We'll hook you up. And here's the bottom line, folks. They will absolutely pay writers that get traction. If you get a lot of views and a lot of, movement through your articles, no matter how good it is, it's got to get that kind of traction.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. We've learned from a lifetime of experience that a lot of times it all boils down to a network. If you got a pretty good following and you want to do more than just tweet out in 240 characters, messages that get retweets and likes. You want to write a full-blown 400-plus word article that really drives the point home, use your network, your following, to get people to read it, and that's what kind of traction New Right Network is talking about getting through their website. They would publish it through their website, share it, and use the network to get people to read your full thoughts.
Right, and then you actually have to do a lot into getting it out yourself. But when you're linked up with the different groups that we're linked up with on Twitter, in those groups, you share it in those groups. They'll share your tweet. They'll reshare their tweets, and you just it compounds it.
I know people who have 50, 60,000 followers on Twitter. You start writing articles and start sharing that out, and you got your 50, 60,000 followers who are either reading and responding to it, or retweeting it and sharing it. I mean, that's the kind of traction they're looking for. So it's not so much that, I'm not a writer, Carrie. I'm not a professional writer. I've never been published before. First of all, if you have that kind of following, there's a reason for that. You probably have good thoughts that people think are important. Just write a 400. And let me tell you, this is my personal experience. 400-word article is basically a rant on Facebook.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a Facebook rant. Think about it. 240 characters is, maybe a couple dozen words or whatever. That's a full tweet. It's kind of like a 10-tweet rant. You start giving your opinion about something, and then every single point you make, look for substantiation, look for links that support it. Just like that, you're at 400 words. Just like that. It's like no time whatsoever. No, it's not even effort. But that's minimum. You could go 1,500 words. That's like a essay. You get into that 1,000 to 1,500 words. Now you're talking about a full blown essay. But you know what? They'll publish it, and it's great. New Right Network.
Well, even some of my show notes go up over a couple hundred words.
Okay, Roscoe just pointed out that, Brian, I apologize, you just found your DM in the junk box.
What?
I don't know who you would.
No, he's the expert on the whole Benghazi.
Oh, was he supposed to come on?
Yeah.
Oh, man, he just now found it. Well, Roscoe, you're on now. On the comments section.
Oh, man.
Well, thanks for getting to our comments section.
We'll DM me back. We'll hook up.
Yeah.
And Roscoe will hook up. We'll have you on next week or something. This isn't going to go away. And I would love to have your expert opinion.
It sounds if it's been going on since 2012, it's not going it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon until Clinton's finally in jail.
Right. So, Roscoe, I went through your Twitter DMs, or your Twitter feed, the whole rant that you put up there all the video clips, all the news articles, and all your comments. I went through all that and just kind of summarized it the best I could, along with watching all the videos from Fox News and Catherine Heritage. But you would absolutely do a better job, and some of the questions I have. And the questions that you might have as well, Carrie.
I'm sure.
That Roscoe would be able to answer.
I tend to not allow stones to be uncovered.
Right.
So if you've been watching me long enough and seen a lot of my interviews, you get the whole story by the time I'm done asking questions.
So with that being said, Roscoe, don't hit me too hard if I didn't get it right. I did the best I could, man.
Here's the thing. I have not been following this, and so I had to listen carefully what Brian was saying to follow along, and I thought it was well done.
Okay.
Good job.
Right.
Good job, Brian.
Sweet. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. What's Roscoe say?
He said he's just telling you why he didn't get back to you.
Oh, okay.
It's in the junk box.
All right. Well, follow me, man. I'm following you, I think.
All right. Well, now you guys are following each other. I didn't know there was a junk box on DM.
I didn't know there was.
Well, I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so what else happened this week?
A wall and a shutdown?
We're still under the shutdown, y'all.
Yeah, it was a shutdown or something.
So Trump 45, 45, 45. So at Trump 45, 45, 45.
Because the Trump 45, 45 was probably already taken. So we had to go to the third 45.
Yeah, because Trump 45 definitely is taken.
Okay.
And Trump 45, 45 is taken. So you just get one more with it.
Okay.
You'll get it sooner or later.
Okay.
So this individual tweeted out, in Israel from 2000 to 2005, there were over 1,000 killed by terrorist attacks. A wall was built. Terrorism was cut by 95%.
That's a lot.
Walls were case closed.
Well, that was a good tweet.
Yeah, no. Oh, and hashtag build the damn wall has been trending.
So a critic early on in the show on the comments section pointed out that we need to get with the times and use modern technology. We don't need no archaic, old school wall from like the Middle Ages, the medieval times, the ancient Great Wall of China,
yeah.
All this kind of stuff. We just need modern technology. And I'm like, whoa, bro. There's a lot of different ways I can go, but come on. We're not reinventing the wheel. Use what works.
Oh, did you see the Trump press conference? The first time Trump's ever done this, it was a press briefing with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she said, "Hey, how y'all doing? The President of the United States wants to speak to y'all. I advised him not to because y'all a bunch of idiots, but I'm going to go get him anyways." So she goes to get Trump. Trump comes in, and he says, "Hey, y'all a bunch of idiots." He said, "I'm building this wall. I don't care what you think. Y'all a bunch of knuckleheads. And by the way, I brought 3 guys with me, President, Border Wall, Border Patrol, and the Vice President. Vice President. And so all 3 of them spoke. All 3 of them absolutely passionately spoke.
And, of course, a bunch of racists on the Democrat Party were like, look at all these bald white guys. And
the one guy was
totally Hispanic.
Yeah, he even had a Hispanic name. It was like Gonzalez or something.
He had a pretty thick accent, too. I mean, come on. I mean, you're just a racist pointing that stuff out. Trying to say, look at these guys. It looks like a bunch of white guys. It's like my Puerto Rican friend that looks like Flea.
Oh,
it's like people,
yeah.
And Flea it's just an average white guy, but so was my Puerto Rican friend, and it's just a bunch of racists. That's what it is.
Charlize Theron?
Yeah.
She's African. South African.
Yeah.
She's white as
good thing she's not there now.
White on rice.
They're just.
Oh, they're doing
hacking people
apartheid.
up. Yeah.
If you own anything and you're white in South Africa, yeah, it's been taken.
Yeah, they're doing ethnic cleansing there, so be thanking your lucky stars that you're not there anymore, and thoughts and prayers for those that are stuck there. I mean, could you imagine if you were a farmer there and you were white, and so you're subject to execution at any time? And, I mean, the only way out of there, really, is to walk. I mean, you wouldn't be able to raise enough money to leave.
No.
What do? You got to just basically put up a sign. We'll work for
For
exit
life?
food.
For life?
Yeah, something. exit food or something. Or exit. Give me a ticket out of here. I mean, it's crazy.
Right. So let's go with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sarah Huckabee. What's the president's agenda for 2019? Donald Trump went to Camp David retreat, and apparently they're doing their talks and hanging out, Camp David summit. And this is Sarah Huckabee Sanders on Trump.
Top priority?
I think the president's got a lot. Immigration certainly has to be at the forefront. Right now, that's one of the biggest things that we have to get done is securing our border, but not just securing the border, but fixing the immigration system as a whole. It's completely broken. The president wants to make sure we look at all of the different things, loopholes that we can close to make that better. Infrastructure, fighting the opioid crisis. Those are going to be things that also not only are the president's big priorities, but things we think we might be able to get Democrats to actually work with us. The American people elected them to come here and do more than just fight the president, and we hope that they'll fulfill their constituents' hopes for them and do exactly that.
Wow, that's pretty rosy of her. I don't know. Wow.
Well, I mean, you got to say what is it, that not what's actually happening, but what you want to happen or something.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, there's no point in dwelling over spilt milk and whatnot. Just point out the way it should be, and just hope that maybe through osmosis it will start to get that way. I mean, we're dealing with the actions and opinions and decisions of other people, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and you can't make people do what you want them to do. They're going to do what they're going to do, and you just hope that they have the right character to do the right thing. And in the case of a lot of these new Congress, what do they call them, freshman congressmen that are elected in areas full of communists, we're just dealing with a bunch of crazy people.
Yes, lots of crazy people up there, without a doubt. They're something that they just tried to do. The Democrats that control the House attempted to pass a bill through the House for middle-class tax cuts. I didn't go too well.
Okay.
That didn't go too well. No.
They're not doing tax cuts for the middle class?
No. They attempted to do that. So this is a really interesting fight that's going on. I don't know. Here, we'll do this one. We'll do this one with Trump. Trump speaking about the wall. And this is the one that I think this is the one that I like the most, because they're arguing with him about building the wall, and he's telling them how he's going to do it come hell or high water. It don't matter. I don't need no Democrat.
Have you considered using emergency powers to grant yourself authorities to build this wall without congressional approval? And second,
yes,
on
I have.
Mexico, you have.
Yes, I have. And I can do it if I want.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the wall?
No, we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely. No, we can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. But we can call a national emergency and build it very quickly. And it's another way of doing it. But if we can do it through a negotiated process, we're giving that a shot.
So is that a threat hanging over the Democrats?
I never threaten anybody.
It's not.
But I am allowed to do that, yes. It's called a national emergency.
Okay, so he's careful with his wording.
No,
by saying,
I'm not
threatening him. But when it comes to negotiations, that is definitely a shot across the bow. It's basically saying, hey, listen, I'm trying to work with you guys, and I'm willing to work with you guys. I'm willing to give you things. This morning it was either Meet the Depressed or Deface the Nation, one of the two. It doesn't matter. They're both basically the same thing, different channel. They were asking Lindsey Graham if he would be willing to give DACA amnesty for the wall, because they were wording it in a way that made it sound like, well, we know he's not going to do that, but let's just throw that out there as a question to Lindsey Graham, just in case. And he practically interrupted F. Chuck Todd to point out that absolutely he's willing. Not only is he willing, but he's already offered it for the wall funding, and it was rejected by the Democrats. Remember, 1.8 million?
Yep.
Because we were told it was 800,000 DACA eligible recipients. What Trump did was say, okay, we'll take the 800,000 and we'll throw on an additional million. 1 million people who we believe may possibly qualify for DACA who have not applied yet but will.
Right, and he's talking about 1 million open slots. We got 1 million tickets to stay here. And here's the box of tickets. Get the line up. Okay, let's see if you qualify. Oh, sorry. You qualify. Sorry.
So they may not qualify, but they're saying that there's people who would qualify for DACA who were scared to sign up, or they were reluctant, or maybe they were just lazy, whatever the reason might be, or maybe they didn't even know about it. Whatever the reason might be, these people who would be DACA qualified who have not will throw an additional million on there. So what?
Somebody's saying still requires congressional approval.
Not for a national emergency.
No, man, we got problems at the border.
Does not
and
require.
The President of the United States' job is to secure the border and protect Americans.
If he calls a national emergency, he could build the wall.
Did you hear about the new migrants that are coming? There's another 40,000. Another caravan, 40,000. That's a small army.
Somebody pointed out amnesty versus path to citizenship. This is really important. I want every one of our viewers to be extremely well informed. Amnesty just means that you will not be subject to the deportation requirement if you're caught being here illegally. It's completely separate from a path to citizenship, which may also be added to a bill or a law or whatever if they want to. But that amnesty does not mean citizenship, and it does not even mean a path to citizenship. All it means is that if we were to, let's say, pull you over for speeding or something like that, or we were to just catch you in public, whatever it may be, and you were discovered to be illegal and subject to deportation, that we would not do that. That's all amnesty is. So it's important that you guys know the difference. That's extremely important. DACA, we've had a whole entire episode on DACA where we listed out point by point the eligibility requirements for DACA. It basically, just to give you the quick version, DACA would be about 4% roughly of all the illegals currently here. 4%. That means not 90. That means 96% of illegals in America would not qualify for DACA, and these would be the top most desirable illegals that we would maybe want to keep if we want to. Right. If you wanted to take just the top 4% most desirable illegal immigrants in America to give amnesty to, it would be the DACA eligible. It's people who have not committed any felonies, if you have committed a misdemeanor, it would be like less than 3. I think if you hit 3 misdemeanors, you also have to have been brought here as a child, which means as far as the assimilation goes, this would be the most assimilated people because you would have come here as a child. You would have been raised,
not only that,
for the most part, in America.
But the folks that come from the South in California that they refer to themselves as first generation. Mm-hmm. They are completely different than those from Mexico.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And when they go back to Mexico, those Mexicans do not treat them as Mexicans.
They're considered a little bit ostracized, I would say, because they're not considered real Mexicans, which that's problematic.
So if we got another 40,000 migrant caravan coming up from the South, hell yeah, that's a crisis.
Yeah.
It's a national.
So Will Chamberlain did a great scope today on very important that you watch it, but I can summarize it right here. Before I watched Will Chamberlain's scope, somebody pointed out to me because of a tweet that I tweeted out there, which I'm like, national emergency. Actually, it was a conversation I had with some of my insiders. I said, national emergency. That's obviously a move that he could apply at some point. I think it's a little early to be throwing national emergency out there because I was thinking, we're being invaded by a foreign force and, I'm thinking national emergency is what it sounds like, which is something.
Something like that hurricane that come up all the way up the coast and ripped out all those states and cities.
Right. So it turns out Will Chamberlain was also curious, and he is a lawyer.
Oh.
And he decided to do some digging, and he did a scope on it. And I'll summarize it this way. We're all overstating, everybody is over-imagining what it means to have a national emergency. Will was not aware, neither was I, and Brian might not be either, that we currently, here in the United States, we are under 28 different national emergencies right now.
Wow.
Yes.
See, Trump just flipped a switch. Just turn it on.
Obama
created all 20.
No. Obama created. Here's what he gives one example where there's some sort of civil unrest in an African nation. All right, there's civil. I don't even remember what the name of the African nation is, but there's civil unrest there. Obama declared that a U.S. national emergency to free up some funds and also some executive power for himself in order to deal with that. So he declared a national emergency for that. 2 months ago, only 2 months ago, it came up for renewal. Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, renewed that national emergency.
Oh, man.
So it turns out that we have 28 current ongoing national emergencies.
And Trump renewed one.
And Trump, as early as he may have renewed several, but the one that he did that was the most recent was only 2 months ago. So 2 months ago, we had a national emergency that was already in effect. Trump renewed it. It turns out national emergency is probably a little overstated.
Yeah. I'm going to say 28.
Will Chamberlain made the case, totally successfully, that this is much bigger of a national emergency than probably a number of current national emergencies. All right. So I highly recommend watching that scope. It was very informative to me. If we're under 28 national emergencies, clearly
I could get one more. I need one more.
This may actually, with the Caravan on its way, with the fact that we have a humanitarian crisis going on our southern border, certainly this would qualify for a national emergency.
Especially if they're right with the numbers that 40,000 are coming up. And just real quick to answer that on the message board, state of an emergency is in an individual state. National emergency would be the entire. It's the difference between your local state government or your state regime versus the feds.
Yeah, and also the like another one. I'm just now remembering one that Will brought up. There was one national emergency that expired and was not renewed because the emergency was considered to have dissipated, I guess, and that was the swine flu. When the swine flu came out, Obama declared a national emergency.
What?
And when it came up for renewal, the swine flu had run its course, and so it was not renewed. So even the swine flu garnered the national emergency designation. So for this seems like a no-brainer. I think that Trump should give Congress one more chance to come at him with something and then declare a national emergency, go in there and build a big, beautiful wall, make it out of concrete. Did you hear about this debate between concrete and metal, steel?
Yeah.
So there's memes going around. Apparently, Donald Trump was asked if he would be willing to concede on the making it out of concrete and instead make it out of steel because Congress had objected to it being a concrete wall. For those of you in the construction industry, concrete would actually be harder to remove. It almost sounds like they're trying to come up with a way to have him build a fence that could be quickly removed if needed. So that it could be reversed.
By the next administration of sorts. Well, he did make mention that the steel industry is booming like never before. The wall would be made out of American steel.
Well, that's one thing. I remember that. And, of course, a concrete wall would also have steel in it. It'd be like steel.
Reinforced rebar, yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So, but here's the thing. If you say it's just going to be made out of steel, there could be a run on steel, and steel prices could go way up. And as we've learned from Cincinnati's subway system,
oh, man,
Turns out Cincinnati's supposed to have a subway. It was started. We have holes in the ground.
Tunnels, yeah.
This was way back. It was over 100 years ago. Over 100 years ago. And turns out the materials needed to complete the subway went through the roof at the start of World War I. And World War I prevented Cincinnati from being able to finish the subway because the construction costs went through the roof after World War I. So
unbelievable.
Yeah.
World War I affecting everybody.
Well, and getting back to the wall, it's very possible that, let's say, a budget of $20 billion is thrown out there for the price of the entire wall. Well, you could be halfway through, maybe a year or two into construction, and all of a sudden they're like, this is going to more be like $50 billion, something like that. Easily with the price of materials, the price of labor fluctuating
constantly. If we can cancel that check that Obama gave to Iran, put a stop payment on that.
We'd have to go with forklifts to get those pallets back.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, that's the problem. That's really the problem.
So here's a border agent. This was posted up on Twitter. This is really good. Apparently, and this is going on right now as we're speaking, Star-Crossed Wolf, at Star-Crossed Wolf, posted this up. On January 1st, 2019, a mob of people tried to breach our border, trying to force entry into our country illegally. U.S. Chief Border Patrol Agent Scott and his people are true heroes, as well as real American patriots. Stand with these heroes. So I'm hearing all different kinds of stories that people are saying that most of those migrants in the original Caravan have already come into the country somehow. That there's thousands and thousands that were able to make it into the country.
Right.
However,
put yourself in their shoes. They know. They saw the scenes of the mob that showed up that got gassed with the CS gas, which, by the way, is just common standard operating procedure. Obama did it a lot. Obama administration, or I should say, the Border Patrol under Obama did it a lot. Yeah. So nothing special there. Was used as propaganda.
It's not like they use napalm or anything.
Or mustard gas or something.
Agent Orange.
They want you to believe that they got CS gassed. Or no, it's not CS. What's the nerve agent? That they used nerve agent on them or something, like Saddam Hussein back from the grave or something like that.
They gassed them.
Oh my gosh, the humanity. So look at the children. They're dying.
Think about it. They're crying and screaming. They got no pants on.
Okay.
No, the kids were running. The mom was running with the kids. The kid had no. How you gonna cross the desert and the kid ain't got no pants on?
Yeah, problematic. So anyway, about this border agent.
Yep, here he is. He tells a story in his own words. Just a 30-second clip.
Last night here in San Diego, the Caravan showed its propensity for violence once again, when a large group of people congregated on the hill up behind me at about 2 in the morning. And then instead of trying to come north or surrender, they decided to assault Border Patrol agents with a hail of rocks. Our agents responded with the least amount of force they possibly could to protect themselves and the border, and did actually secure the border in this area. One agent was hit square in the face with a rock. Luckily, he had his helmet and shield on and was not seriously injured. But the violence associated with this Caravan just continues.
Wow, I did not know about that. That's a little scary. Yeah, it's it's an invasion. It's not necessarily, it's not an army. It's not organized. It's not to necessarily take over for another country land like you would do an invasion in the past, like an actual war. But, on a civilian scale, pretty much. We are a sovereign country. We have our laws. We have the right to allow or decide who we allow in the country and who not to, and that's being threatened. Those decisions, our freedoms and our rights, are being threatened by those who are either foreign, trying to invade our country illegally, or those inside America who are enabling that.
Scott Pressler went and had held a vigil for someone who was just recently killed by an illegal alien. I thought that was phenomenal. I was emotional. I ran across this. Somebody tweeted this out and sent this to me. And for those of you on video, you'll be able to see it. For those of you on audio, you have to just listen. Justice for Pierce Caravan. It's at Justice for Pierce on Twitter. Absolutely must follow. This is the initial tweet that he tweeted out. He said it's not his account. It's its older brother's account, but the picture of Pierce is on the account. And he tweets out, "My baby brother Pierce was tragically killed in a wreck in Knoxville, Tennessee on Saturday, December 29th, 2018. This New Year's, a couple days before New Year's Eve. At 6:33 in the afternoon, he was hit head-on by an illegal immigrant who had no American citizenship, no license, and no insurance. I'm making this profile in hopes of sharing his story." So when you look at the profile, that's the pinned tweet at the top. When you look at the profile, you can see the family, the grandparents, the parents, the brother, the sister. This is for real. This is what this is all about. This didn't have to happen.
Yeah, and the left is trying to make I get where they're coming from on this argument, but there's way more to it than this. They're trying to say, well, auto accidents happen, and statistically, whether or not they're illegal or not, accidents happen, and people die in car accidents, and the fact that he or she that causes the accident or whatever is illegal should be considered irrelevant. I kind of get the statistical argument on that, but there's also the fact that being illegal does actually cause death, destruction, crime, and all that, because like the guy that killed the cop, Officer Singh.
Yep.
Officer Ron Singh last week.
Took a picture of his wife and his 5-month-old baby in front of the Christmas tree, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the last time they saw him, probably, because he went off that evening to work, where he did not make it out alive because he was killed by an illegal immigrant. But in that case, the fact that he was illegal was what caused him to murder, because he knew that being pulled over, it wasn't just that he was driving drunk. He was pulled over driving while drinking. He killed because, or I should say, we think it could very well be because he was illegal, subject to possible deportation, worried about that, ends up killing a cop, and this kind of stuff happens all the time. And then there's also the assimilation argument that I would make, where that a certain crime, like maybe an assault on a young woman or something like that, a rape or even a murder, or breaking and entering or robbery or whatever, would happen because of a cultural difference, that maybe they feel that they have the right, or that they can get away with it because they're illegal.
In some cultures, they believe that women are still property.
Well,
so you come over here and just start abusing women.
There's that, but also the anonymity of being here illegally and being able to break in somebody's house. Maybe even have your face show up on a surveillance camera. But because you're illegal and nobody knows who you are, where you're from, or you've never been seen before, they look at somebody and say, we don't know who that is. No. They're here illegally.
So another post on Justice for Pierce and the for Justice, the number 4 Pierce. This is a blog post by Jade, Pierce's girlfriend. She has given us permission to share. Jade has been so strong through this time, and we appreciate your thoughts and prayers for her as well. She is part of our family as well, and Pierce loved her so much. Just pointing out, it seems like the guy's a pretty good guy. I mean, the family's talking about his girlfriend. She's got a blog, and she's writing about it. You're affecting multiple families. Hell, you're affecting me that I got to actually talk about this.
I know.
Damn it, man. I don't like it. I hate it.
It's rough. I mean, what it boils down to, and then the argument. I actually agree with this argument. I'm okay with this argument that people say that, oh, sure, statistically anybody could have ended up dying in an auto accident, and the fact that they're illegal might be irrelevant. But we shouldn't have to deal with that at all. There's this feeling, and I'm okay with this argument. If we're going to end up dying by somebody screwing up and making an accident or having an accident or whatever, making even bad judgment, just don't make it an illegal person. You know, if Brian makes a mistake and looks away from the road for a second, hits me head on and kills me, just don't make my family have to make the argument that, well, you're illegal. Why are you even here? You shouldn't be here, right. Brian.
Right.
Don't make my family, my survivors.
Well, not only that, but the guy had no insurance. Now their son's dead.
Yeah.
Who pays for that?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, are they able to get insurance?
Well, in California, you can.
When you call up an insurance company and say, yeah, I'm here illegally, but, I'm trying to do everything right. I'm trying to do the right way. So can I pay for insurance? Maybe some insurance. If I was an insurance agent, I'd be like, yeah, you want to pay us? All right, sure. I'll take it.
I'll take the money because nobody can really collect.
Right. They should not be given driver's licenses. Not that would keep them from driving, but they should definitely be subject to an E-Verify nationwide. And I heavily support legislation that fines companies for hiring illegals so severely that it effectively puts them out of business, and maybe even give jail time to either the owners or the employers who are in charge of hiring them.
Now let's talk a little bit more about security, and not so much, and I'm not picking on a specific culture. I'm not saying it's Mexicans. There's a lot of Hondurans, Guatemalans, there's a lot just south of the border. A lot of stuff going on down there. So yes, definitely a southern border. There are also ICE. Well, when I say ICE is also arresting Muslim on terrorist watch lists that are coming up through the southern border. And now Canada is having a huge problem with the influx of the Muslim immigrants in Canada, that they're having to battle with them, like Germany and France. Not as bad yet, but you just wait. It's going to get worse and worse. And the reason why I say this is because I want you to understand that there's good and evil in this world, and evil wants to take over good. Absolutely wants to dominate good. And the one that I see now that is attempting to dominate the world is Islam. They absolutely believe, their Quran says that you are the world. The world is all yours. It belongs to nobody else. It belongs to you, Islam. Okay. The world belongs to Islam. So there's a professor that was giving a speech about this, a 2-minute clip. He's giving a speech about Islam, the history of it, the different countries of it. And I was beside myself when I started listening to some of these, because I didn't know how many countries were actually Christian dominated. And I think this will should enlighten you as well. And hope you open your eyes to realize that they want America. They want America. They want all of it.
Is based on it. The flat part of the curve is Muhammad preached the religion of 13 years in Mecca and garnered 150 followers, about 10 a year. He migrated, was driven out of Mecca, but he migrated from Mecca to Medina, where he became a politician and a jihadist, and the curve took off. When he died, every Arab on the peninsula was a Muslim. The reason for determining the calendar is that it was the beginning of political success. That is, all Islamic calendars are based on after the Hajj, after Muhammad migrated, and that's the reason why. Hijrah is Sunnah, S-U-N-N-A, and we'll describe a little more about that a bit later. It's the perfect model of a Muslim's life. Muhammad is the perfect Muslim. There are 89 verses in it. Here's the deal. When Muhammad and his Muslims were welcoming migrants in Medina, here's what happened. 5 years later, there were no Jews left in Medina. Medina was now totally under the rule of Sharia. So this happened after the migration. It has happened in 100% of the cases that once Islam gets a hold, if they're not driven out with war, it becomes completely Islamic. Turkey, North Africa, Egypt, Iraq, Syria, all used to be Christians. This is interesting because I know many Christians who have not the slightest clue about this.
I had no idea.
By the way, if you're taking notes, find Buddhists in Afghanistan today. You can't find it at all. Do you remember when the Taliban first took over Afghanistan, they brought in and exploded down the bomb young Buddhas?
Yep, they sure did.
That was a past civilization. Pakistan used to be Hindu. Do you know that? Malaysia used to be Hindu. They're all today completely Islamic. This is what I call the law of Islamic saturation. What causes this? If something happens consistently over 1,400 years, you have to ask yourself the question, what's going on? Why is this happening? Well, it turns out it's happening because of, guess what? Islamic doctrine. So we're going to...
It's a little worrisome. It's definitely worrisome for sure.
Well, when you say that, look at where did the Buddhists go, where did the Hindus go, and this was something that it really, not that I was, admire other religions. I admire artifacts, old ancient relic. I find it so fascinating.
Well, hold on a second. Let me back you up here. Do you feel like you could go to a Hindu majority or maybe completely Hindu religion country as a Christian and get out of there alive?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the issue.
Well,
right
but the point I was making though is that when I watched as they blew up the giant chiseled out statues, they were chiseled out of the mountain. There was like a half a dozen of them. Just chiseled out of the side of a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And Islam, the Muslim, the terrorists, ISIS went up there and exploded bombs and blew all of that to smithereens. And it's completely gone. All that, just pictures now. It's just in pictures.
Yeah. I was watching a show on Discovery Channel, maybe it's History Channel, where they were talking about these great, awesome artifacts from the past that were lost. And nobody knows exactly why or where they went thousands of years ago, and it's always like, man, that's amazing that there's just nothing left of these things. And there's an example of what they'll be talking about in the future about how something was just blown to smithereens.
It's all gone. So here's where it comes into culture, and this is why I bring this up, because they're ruining the other's culture. They're ruining the culture of other people. They're coming into other countries. They're destroying Germany. They're absolutely destroying France. France is
France
yellow
and Germany
yellow vests are back at it again, folks.
Yeah. You're not going to get it back either.
I
don't see how without some really, really, really nasty warring tactics.
Well, but here's the thing: we learned from World War I, and this is why the governments are allowing this to happen, folks. It all goes back to World War I. All the governments know that if the war comes, that you, the citizens, will allow to give up freedom to the government to win the war. And it never goes back. That income tax that we had put on us in World War I, we still got it. We're saddled with it for life.
Yeah.
The feds, the Fed,
we're stuck with that.
We're stuck with that. Sorry, sack for life as well.
Unless cryptocurrencies take over, which, somebody will come along and come up with a Fed type of cryptocurrency.
Oh man,
where some czar is in charge of the value of it or something like that.
So I'm just arguing for sovereignty of individual nations and not a one world order. That is bad, 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 bad.
Right.
One world order is bad.
The greatness of America for the longest time, which I see we're really entering dangerous territory here, which is that our culture was like, hey, whatever religion you are, we'll respect that if you respect the fact that I may not want to practice your religion. And that was like this spoken and unspoken rule in America. That was the culture from day one. And it was mainly because there were so many different types of Christianity where you didn't want a lot of infighting where it was like, you're not a real Christian. And so they didn't. They just accepted the fact that there were different denominations, and they were united under that understanding. And you got Islam that comes along, and, I was just listening. I sent you a tweet of a video. It was actually not a new video. It was a pretty old video where some Islamic woman was saying our goal is to just make America Islam.
Yeah, that's the goal. Look what they did in Dearborn, Michigan. It's absolute 100%. And there was a video clip I had, but I'm not going to play it. It's a woman that was dressed in the hijab, the whole garb, standing outside of a library, screaming, ranting, and raving. And people were just standing there, just scoping it because it was pretty insane. And she was calling for the police because there's a girl inside the library that is violating Sharia law wearing shorts.
Yeah.
And this is in Spain. This is in Spain. This is insanity. Sharia law is slavery of the people. It is to enslave the people, folks. That's all there is to it. If you're advocating for Sharia law, you're advocating for slavery, 100%.
Right.
So our newly minted Speaker of the House.
We'll call her Retread.
Yeah,
she's a retread.
Our new.
So retread, for those of you non-military folk out there, retread refers to somebody who rejoins the military after having been in the military prior. A lot of times that takes the form of going into a different branch, like somebody from the Air Force to the Marines or vice versa.
We know a guy went from the Marine Corps to the Air Force, which is
so they call that
retread.
They do call that a retread, and it's in reference to the fact that if you have a good boot that you wear a lot, you can actually retread the whole sole of the boot, and it's almost like having a whole new boot.
And if you're a truck driver out there, you know a retread is when they take your tires and they put new tread on it.
That's so weird.
And then when it rips off,
and you have to dodge it when you're on the highway.
They call that a gator back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Call that a gator back.
Watch out for the gator back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you roll over, you're risking flattening your own tires.
Some states are that ban that because
they're all over the damn road.
Too many problems.
Yeah.
So here's our retread in action. God bless her.
The fact is, a wall is an immorality.
Oh,
it's not who we are as a nation.
It's not.
And this is not a wall between Mexico and the United States that the president is creating here. It's a wall between reality and his constituents, his supporters. He does not want them to know what he's doing to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security in his budget proposal. He does not want them to know what he's doing to clean air and clean water and the rest in his Department of Interior and of EPA. He does not want them to know how he is hurting them, so he keeps the subject on the wall. He's a master of diversion. We're trying to open up government. We're giving him a mature path to do so. Not in our language, but in the.
Well, he may open up the government and declare a national emergency so that he could build the wall anyway. He's just hoping that maybe, and let me tell you something, he's going to punish Congress if it goes down that way. If he has to declare a national emergency to get his wall, he's going to punish the Democrats by never allowing anything that they want. He's going to veto anything.
Yeah.
He'll do a spending bill, or he'll sign a spending bill, but he's going to, if he can line out and veto any pork, he'll do that. And if he can't do that, he'll just veto whatever until it's minimal spending.
And this is in memory and celebration of our new retread. Her greatest hits. It's about 56 seconds long. Greatest hits.
Please, God, let Nancy Pelosi continue to be the voice of the Democratic Party.
I can work with President Bush on, and I'm disappointed because I thought that there might be some interest because of what he said in the campaign. Bowl of doggy-doo, put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
Did you say doggy-doo? doggy do, and you put a little cherry on top.
It's called the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act. Affordable. 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 Affordable.
Affordable about it.
Affordable. Affordable. From the word affordable. Affordable Care Act. Crumbs that they are giving to workers. But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
All we need to do is take her words, put it on television, and play it over and over again.
So that's Gets for Gets.house.gov.
Gates, I think.
Or Gates.
Gates, yep.
Yeah, so Good Times. That was Huckabee narrating.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You can't get enough of that woman. She's
from San Francisco, and that whole area is just so jacked up. I don't know how they fallen so far off the rails. Oh, you finally got the... Did you?
I bleeped it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we actually talked about this a little earlier in the show, but one of our new freshman congressmen has lost their mind. I was hoping Brian would be able to just play it right when I said that, but we have insane people who are unfit to serve as congressmen, as far as I'm concerned, based on their insane words. So, this is the serving Muslim.
Yeah, serving Muslim.
Serving as a congresswoman.
This is the least amount of Christians ever in Congress, this 116th Congress.
Gosh.
People love you, and you win. And when your son looks at you and says, Mama, look, you won, bullies don't win. And I said, baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there and we're going to impeach the motherfucker.
So, bullies don't win because we're going to go in and impeach. Well, he did actually win.
Yeah, he did. He won.
And I know that there's the problem with the Democrats, and it's not just the people who are believing the fake news and the falsehoods and the false accusations and just false stats, false events, false everything, is that they've tricked their brains into believing that he didn't actually win, and the world will not be right until he is out of office, because we're in this weird limbo where we don't really have a president. We have somebody there who's not supposed to be there because we really didn't want him to be there. We really, really didn't. And I ran for Congress, and not only did I win, but we actually took the House. So a majority of the people who hate Trump ended up taking over the House, and so we're going to right the wrong, and we're going to make sure that we prove to people that bullies don't win. People that we don't like don't win the presidency, and they didn't. They didn't win, and we're going to prove that by impeaching him. And once he's impeached, we can then right the feelings that I'm having that he didn't win because he's not supposed to win, and we didn't really want him to win. And that's the thought process of your average Democrat. Does that make sense?
It does. Somebody just said play this one. I
can't. Okay, so Roscoe, you're going to have to DM that because actually DM it to Brian P. Smith, because I'm signed in as Smith Radio. Yeah. Because here's the thing. When I'm on Periscope.tv, I can't copy and I can't highlight and copy the Twitter links, unfortunately. So you'll have to DM that to Brian P. Smith on Twitter. So did you get it? Oh, we have a
Miss Ann, and they came up to me and said, "Can I get rid of Trump?" Is that right? Yeah. And I said, "I sure can."
Can you show them?
Because now I'm going to be United States Congress.
Yeah, show the video. Yeah, rewind it too when you show it. So this is for you, Roscoe. We're going to go ahead and play this.
So apparently, she's indoctrinating the children with.
Well, she's a freshman congressman, and as a deranged megalomaniac, which most people running for high office, and I do believe that Congress, even just a congressman in the House of Representatives, I believe, is a high office, and you're in federal, you're in Congress. You know, you make laws. I believe a vast majority of them are full-blown, not only megalomaniacs but also sociopaths, and you tend to get really big in the head, and you feel like, I mean, look at AOC. AOC was able to win a primary in a little tiny area of the country with a extremely low voter turnout. Right. And that was in a primary. On the general, she lives in an area where a Republican will never win no matter what, ever. So by her winning the primary in this tiny area with it, I think she won with like 14,000 votes. She now thinks that she runs the world.
Yeah.
She thinks she's the ruler of the world. And this other woman, who I can never remember her name, but the new Islamic congresswoman, is now clearly thinks that she's the ruler of the world and possibly even a god. Possibly. Yeah. So anyway, let's hear what she's got to say.
Salma and Basan, and they came up to me and said, "Can I get rid of Trump?" Is that right?
Now, why do those
and I
kids
said,
say
"I
that?
sure can," because now I'm going to be a United States Congress member. Do you know what impeachment means? Right? I taught them what impeachment means. So you guys think that he should be gone?
Yes.
Why?
Because he's the worst president ever.
Why?
See, you hear that? You hear that, America?
That's
Even
not an
these
answer.
kids get it. So I can't wait.
They're brainwashed by their parents. So their parents brainwash their kids, which is fine. You're allowed to raise your kids however you want. And they believe that Donald Trump should be impeached, but they said why? Because he's the worst.
Yeah, he's the worst, Kerry.
He's the worst.
He's the worst.
He's the worst. But if you can't say why, and I don't expect the little kids to know why, but that's the whole thing.
She's teaching the little kids all they need to say is he's the worst.
Right. And
don't come up with an argument. Don't.
And she's going to suffer politically for it. You know, she's going to be fine in her little constituency, her little area.
But if she thinks that she's going to go to Congress and band with other Congress members to get something done,
but Brian,
she's sorely mistaken.
But Brian, we have a majority now. That means we are definitely impeached.
You have the majority, but out of the majority, you can't get all of them because they are in red states.
Well, let's just
say they won't get reelected.
Well, let's just say that they do. Let's say they impeach him for no reason, by the way, which is a constitutional crisis as far as I'm concerned. We're about out of time. Yeah. It'll never be convicted in the Senate, which means it will be all for nothing. And I just watched a show the other day that was all about the Clinton impeachment, and I learned a lot because I was only a child. I was only a high school kid when he was president initially, and I was very young. And it turns out that it was a huge mistake for Republicans to impeach him without any chance of getting him removed from office because it didn't come close to being able to get conviction in the Senate. And the public at large felt like it was just a stupid overreach. And they're going to certainly pay if they do it in the today's Democrat-filled representatives.
This message
is for the wall
is
right
for
here.
President Donald Trump. On behalf of the American people,
be ready with the sound.
Mr. President, do not give in. Stay the course.
This is about the shutdown.
Do not give in. Stay the course. We the people, we voted for you for border security. We cannot allow these people to come in and invade our country. We cannot allow that to happen. Stay the course, Mr. President. Build the wall. I don't care how long it takes. Shut it down. Keep it shut down for as long as it takes. Because if we don't get the border wall, they gonna come in here and take over our country. Please, Mr. President, do not give in. Stay the course. The Bible says that the race is not given to the weak nor the strong, but to he that endureth all day long. Mr. Donald Trump, our president, we beg you to please stay the course and don't give in.
I love it. I love it. Oh, you can tell. Close that so you can see who it is. Do you have his? Oh, you don't have his handle.
I don't have it up. I don't have it up.
Sorry. We don't have his handle. He just started following me too. We'll get it to you.
Best 3 hours you're spending anywhere with anybody at any given time, folks. Go to SmithTV.com. Check out everything we've got going on there. If you like what you see and you hear, share it with your friends and your family. Tell everybody about it.
Share this on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Share it everywhere.
Yep. Oh, it'll be live on Facebook tomorrow night. I'll replay it on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, find it tomorrow and do what you do.
It's awesome. See you guys next week. Yep. Same time.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.